this gunfight, and he catches Mikey looking the other way. That's a quad kill from Bride. Flies up the stairs. His teammate should be able to trade this. It's just an ump. Getty gets a 3K with an ump, and he's got the stubby out. He gets 4. What in God's green earth just happened?
As Reedson goes into the default plant by Tetris. No more C4 anymore from the Malusi, so he's gonna have to go drive, and he gets 4. What? Both these attackers rather low. There it is, but Twizzler was actually picked up in time. 12 seconds left. Vivid still needs this 4th kill. There it is through the wall.
Gasper's just getting the bomb down. He doesn't care, but the impact downs him. They have to go for these kills. With 3 seconds left, Silent lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time. The ace from Silent. The 1v3, 2 for Mystic now. And we're 4-3, almost tied up.
Welcome back, everyone, for the continuation of round number 4. I'm Crow, joined once more by Time to Light, and we get to watch another team get eliminated. Isn't that something? I'm excited.
You seem so excited about
I
knocking
love
teams out
watching.
of
I'm not going to
SCS7.
lie. I'm of the thought that elimination games are more exciting than promotion games. I live for them.
There's more risk. That's the
So
fun
that's what I'm
part about
saying.
it.
That's what I'm saying. So
Well-
because it's like at the end of the game, it's like, wow, yeah, this team gets promoted, but then the losers still get to like play again. Who cares? We're going to be seeing one of these teams for the last time in this season.
Yeah, and it's Astralis taking on the Hong Kong Rebels. First, let's wrap up yesterday, tell you what happened, where it happened, how it happened. Obviously, our first day of the week, continuing on with our 4th round, as you indicated. Now, yesterday was a little chaotic. Collegiate, 6 Karma. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed myself not picking correctly. But
Did you pick Collegiate?
Okay, so I was thinking Collegiate originally. I ended up switching to 6 Karma before the series started. I think it was like 3 hours before the series started because I gained my brain cells back. But even doubting 6 Karma.
I was gonna say, did the alcohol wear off? Like you finally you sobered up and you're like, oh, what did I do? Yeah, no, Collegiate. I will say I was impressed with Collegiate, with how much of a fight they put up, but sadly, they can't attack. Like they went up, right? Didn't they go up like 4-2 or 5-1? Something like that. I think they were up 5-2 on Oregon at some point, and then their attacks just kind of fell apart, meaning 6 Karma ended up winning. Who'd have thought? This game, however, was much closer. Back-to-back 7-2s, Aerial and IF actually winning their opponent's map pick. It was Villa first, which Aerial took in stride, and then IF answered back immediately on Theme Park, putting it all down on Clubhouse, a map that Aerial Arise is not great at. They've almost only lost it in the past couple months. And IF didn't play it since January 23rd of this year, back in CL Stage 2. And both teams, I think, looked better than I thought they would. But at the end of the day, IF showed up, and Aerial Arise, I think, are right. They're our first Challenger League team eliminated from SCS.
Yeah, and that one I did get wrong in terms of predictions. Today, I predicted Astralis. You won't see my prediction, so I'm okay to bring it up. This is how our Swiss bracket looks. Loser of this is eliminated. They are one of the 3 teams eliminated in round 4. The winner goes on to the best of 3 culmination games at the 2-2 level to take on any of the losers from 2-1, those being Vipers, Parabellum, Aerial Rise Academy, Luminosity, Reality TV, or the Wichita Wolves.
And speaking of Vipers versus Parabellum, that's actually our second game of the night. So we'll have an elimination game followed by a promotion game. But of course, first, Dan, we got to talk about Astralis and HK Rebels. So first, you can see by this graphic, the path, well, you can't say anymore, but you could have seen the path that these two teams have taken to get to this 1-2 record. For Astralis, I think it's a little more understandable. I would say they beat 6 Karma 7-5 on Bank, lost to Reality TV, who, I mean, just made SI closed quals. So Reality TV have proven that they are a monster of a team. I think the loss to Parabellum was a little more surprising considering Parabellum's struggles, not only in SCS losing to S2, but also in invite quals. PB, unfortunately, I think lost the last game most recently against Reality TV. And that's how Astralis find themselves here. HK Rebels, on the other hand, got smoked by OXG. They beat EQV4, and then they lost to JJ. So, like, Astralis have the win over 6 Karma. HK Rebels have the win over EQV4. So I think we can weigh one of those wins much more than the other.
Yeah, and looking at Astralis and how they've played up against the 2 opponents they've lost to, you just saw the Parabellum scoreline. Now, losing to Parabellum isn't the most outlandish thing for Astralis, but the roster for them. They now wield Spiff in replacement of DP Fire after NAL Stage 3. The rest of the lineup consists of the secure starters, Forest, Shuttle, Iconic, Ever So, and J90. Their ratings and stats, little less than ideal, but remember, they're 1 and 2, they've lost 2 of their 3 games, and their round differential isn't too far from almost stock dead even. They are -3 overall through 16 and 19.
Yeah, the stats definitely aren't ideal, but they're not like terrible either. In fact, most of that rating stat is kind of being dragged down surprisingly by Iconic, who's only got a 0.63. He's 15 and 32. So he's double negative right now. And it's really surprising because Iconic has always been a standout player for this team. But we can hone in on a different player for Astralis. Our highlight player for today is actually J90, and he's had kind of an interesting journey throughout this Astralis roster. He started a much more aggressive role when first joining this team. He was actually kind of like a flex support, I think, and then came into a much more aggressive role, and now has taken more of a back seat, a 0.98 rating, so just below the average of 1.0. He's +1 on the KD, +2 on the entry. He's got more than 50% cost and a great survival rate. And playing those operators like Lion, you see Castle is his most played on the defense, but he'll definitely flex onto things like Smoke, Wamai. I imagine if anyone's going to play Solus, it'll probably be like him or Forest as well. So J90 has always been a pillar of this team, and it's kind of cool to see him back on the role that he kind of started in, which is this flex supporty kind of role. Not terribly ahead of the action, but still a position he definitely thrives in.
And I think the flexibility for Astralis was tried out just a little bit into NAL Stage 3, and it didn't work out all that well for them. If you'll remember, they were first in both NAL Stage 1 and 2. That's really where you saw J90 pick up that level, and then it was dropped in favor of the more aggression, and now it's been changed right back. So an understandable switch back to what has worked. I'm always of the thought process that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the switch ups from Astralis weren't really required going into Stage 3, but I like the fact that they understand what's gone wrong and have now switched up a few things, albeit their results don't entirely lead that way thus far in the Swiss, but they've been playing up against some pretty good opponents, if I do say so myself. Top 5 in Mexican Pro League, Reality TV now into closed quals for SI, and Parabellum, another NAL team. By no means are these teams that Astralis should be blowing out of the water on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and we can flip over to Hong Kong Rebels, a team that have also had their share of issues here in SCS. Burnt Turkey, Doug, Vipoa, Millies, and Rai Rai. Rai Rai actually coming from the collegiate scene and joining T3. They also have a very similar average rating to Astralis, 0.86. However, their defensive and attacking win rates are both lower. Both of Astralis were in that mid 40%. You can see HK Rebels 38 and 40. Their cost about the same, KPR about the same, the round count 11 and 17, a little bit further from even, but also less rounds played, meaning their win was more decisive, but their losses have also been more decisive.
Yeah, a brief run through for all of you curious as to how these teams actually got to this position. You saw who they played and where they played, but it was Bank against 6 Karma. They won 7-5. That's for Astralis. Border, a 5-7 loss to Reality TV, and Villa, a 4-7 loss to Parabellum. Where on the Hong Kong Rebels side, they went in order. Bank a 2-7 loss to Oxygen because, well, it's Oxygen. 7-3 win over EQV4. That was on Oregon. And then Cafe, that was the loss up against the Wichita Wolves, 2-7. That was the real disappointing factor for HKR coming into this. I can't say I was too happy with their performance that time.
And I'm sure they weren't either, but someone on HK Rebels who is very vocal about his team and very vocal about the T3 scene is Millies. We can go ahead and throw his stats up on the board and actually compare them to J90. So they do share a defensive main, that Castle. Both these guys play that a lot. Millies much more flexy on the defense, but he'll typically take up the mantle of that primary entry on attack, whereas J90, typically playing stuff like the Lion, the Nomad, maybe the ace, some kind of second hard breach. Millie's losing out on a lot of these statistics, though. Lower rating, lower KD differential, his entry being 1 and 2 as a Zofia player is not ideal, but he's got a higher cost, meaning he's likely being traded out in more of these rounds. His survival rate, though, not great, and that's something that I've noticed a lot about Millie's, is he'll be the first or second one in the building or fighting the clear as an entry / roamer respectively, but more often than not, he dies. And I haven't looked too closely at the HK Rebels games to see if that really affects the team all too negatively, because, if you're on Alibi, not the biggest deal in the world. The problem is when Millie's is on these operators like Iana, like Zofia. Yes, they're your entry ops, but it's not like the old days where, oh, Ashe has no utility. You can walk in, take a fight, and if you die, it's whatever. Attackers now all have their jobs to do, and if you're walking in and dying before you can even really get any use of your utility, like Millie's has been a lot of times, it's going to hurt the attack, and that might be one of the reasons why it's down under 40%.
And the other note about that, especially for Millie's, is the lower cost and lower survival rate around a lower KD. And if you're entering and finding more kills, you go 2 for 1 on entry trades, congratulations, you're in a good spot. But when you're 1 and 2 on entries, you have a lower KD, and you're not surviving on a consistent basis, that, especially on the attacking side, picking up, as you mentioned, the Zofia, that's how it can hurt your team. And I think that Hong Kong Rebels need to be able to switch something up in that facet. If they can flex away from the more aggressive standpoint and bring around utility earlier in rounds, and then try and get aggressive as is traditional in the more tier 2 / pro R6 scene, that's how they can flourish, especially with the aggression from Millie's. It just has to be well timed and around advantages that have already been gained, rather than some that you're just trying to pick up with a weapon rather than utility.
Yeah, it's weird looking at HK Rebels stats as a team. We don't have a graphic board. I can just rattle them off. Millie's is 1 and 2 playing the Zo. Doug is 5 and 4. We kind of expect that from him as an entry player, but then you've got guys like Vipoa, who's on that flex, that entry role, 1 and 3. Rai, typically on Ace, typically your hard beach player, he's 3 and 2. Burnt Turkey, who's like a thermite smoke player, is 1 and 6. Why is that guy 1 and 6 on thermite smoke? Now, I love Austin to death. I love that guy to death. But I've always felt like he just can't thrive on a hard support role because he's so aggressive. Stick him on an entry like he was back in the early days of, I say early days of T3, like a year or so ago when he was on some crappy team in EPS. That guy was running through he played better against better teams when he was rocking the Zo. So I think there's some role issues that HK Rebels need to sort out. They're definitely got to shore up their entry game, because you got Vipoa and Millie's, who are collective 2 and 5 as the 2 entry players, and then you have Burnt Turkey, who's 1 and 6. Astralis, their entry numbers not nearly as bad. I mean, Forrest is doing his job. He's 8 and 4. Spiff is on entry. He's 5 and 7. Sure, he's negative, but he's making space, and he's a brand new player going straight from a T3 environment to a T1 environment. There's going to be more adjusting, I think, for him as an individual to that environment rather than the team trying to acclimate him in. So, still both teams have their issues to work out, and I think a lot of this game is going to ride on what maps we go to, because the only map HK Rebels has had success on is Oregon. Maybe they'll try to swing the ban phase over to those more default maps. Maybe we'll see an Oregon, a Clubhouse, a Villa, something like that. Never mind. Clubhouse immediately taken off the board by Astralis. They don't want to touch the map. Skyscraper also did not fare terribly well for them during the NAL stage. HK Rebels, Theme Park is a very complex map. If you have role struggles, you don't want to go there. And Cafe, you had mentioned, they just got 7-2'd on by JJ. And our first couple maps will be Chalet and Border.
I can't say I'm too surprised about the Chalet selection by Astralis, nor Border by HK Rebels. And coming into these first 2 maps, it's about picking up that opening. You were talking about it on a statistics level basis. On these maps, if you pick up that opening kill on the attack or the defensive side, it's a whole lot of utility that you can really bring forward that your opponents can't bring back. Unless it's place and forget, Jaeger, Alibi, whatever. But Border, for Astralis, they decide to choose the attacking side, so they'll be on the attack to start off the first 2 maps in the first half. A little surprising for them, and our final map now, Bank. Statistically, this favors Astralis, but they're also a T1 team, so a lot of things statistically favor Astralis into this, yet they're still down at 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think no matter what, though, looking at these maps, you have to think it's going to be in Astralis's favor, especially HK Rebels banning the Villa, the map that Astralis lost up against PB, and instead choosing to leave up Bank, which Astralis won against 6K, and that HK lost to OXG. So the map bans are a little bit weird. Obviously the result remains to be seen, but right now I think Astralis definitely won these map bans. Chalet in particular, not a map that Astralis have played terribly often.
Since NAL Stage 2. Not since NAL Stage 2.
They haven't touched the map, and they haven't touched it in SCS either. So maybe this one can go the way of HK Rebels. But the other two, I don't know.
I mean, this one's up in the air. Here's our predictions. That's a really surprising set of predictions, actually.
Let's go.
I'm
John and I are
included into
first.
this. Yeah. What is my prediction percentage? I'm actually curious right now. It's not on the screen because, I can put it together when we're in. But long story short, I'm probably at least better than Golum.
That guy's a troller. All good. I'm looking at Astralis' band stats too, and they have banned Chalet both in their first game and their most recent game. Reality TV ended up banning Chalet up against Astralis, which makes sense considering Reality TV don't play the map all too much. So Astralis letting Chalet go through because they banned it first against PB, and they banned it third against 6K. So the fact that they let it through means that they're confident on it. I mean, if you see a team banning this map for a whole stage of NAL and then more during a T3 tournament, and then they bring it out of nowhere, something's cooking. I don't know, maybe they're just experimenting, but I think there's definitely some concern to be had for HK Rebels when a team, lets a map pick like this through.
Especially considering how dynamic Astralis have been, they decide to instead just scrap Skyscraper early. That's a little surprising, but given the fact they didn't have the greatest performance, it's not completely out of the blue. The real conversation point comes to whether HK Rebels can take Astralis to a map they have not played on a stream since either the Berlin Major or NAL Stage 2. And I don't know if that's a possibility considering Spiff is new to the roster, so the strats have most likely already changed. Combine that alongside the fact that Callout likes to cycle in and out ideals for the squad, kind of like it's just a rolling paper mill. Just make sure that everything's fresh. And I don't know if HK Rebels can flex to that as quickly as Astralis will flex on them and take the best.
Yeah, right, because even if HK Rebels do win Chalet, then we move on to Border. Astralis played this map in Stage 3 of NAL. They beat Exet on it pretty handily, 7-3, and they lost it narrowly to Reality TV, who have proved that they are an excellent Border team. And then going on the bank, we already discussed, Astralis won this against 6 Karma. HK got absolutely dominated by OXG. So HK Rebels need to win this map, is what we're saying here, because the last two just look like they're so much in the favor of Astralis. This is either a 2-0 or a 2-1 for the Pro League team.
Yeah, and notable off of that is HK Rebels have lost that consistency on this map. A brief look to how they've been throughout the entirety of SCS, not even looking at the Swiss stage because they haven't played any of these 3 maps in the Swiss stage. Yeah. Open qualifier, they beat Mystic on Bank. They lost Border to Turbo & Co. and then lost Bank to the Favelas. That already was winning and losing Bank up against a fairly decent T3 team and then a fairly decent Challenger League team. So understandable results. But then, against the Favelas, they decided to win Bank and Border in the closed qualifier, 8-7 and 7-5 in that order. So they took the loss from round 4 of open qualifiers and just casually took it to the bracket stage of closed. And then they moved on against Turbo & Co. I'll remind you, they lost Border against them. They decided to then win Border as the decider in map 3, 8-6 to make it to SCS. If they lost that game, just like they did in open quals, we'd be seeing Turbo and Co here, or they probably
Yeah.
would have been eliminated considering these results.
Yeah, I don't know how Turbo and Co would have fared, but Chalet is a strange beast, certainly between these two teams. Even stranger too, HK Rebels opting for the defensive side, because remember this is Astralis' map pick. HK Rebels there get the side pick. If they go down 4-2, I kind of have to question why they would start defense. But of course, all that's for in the map. I think we're just waiting on one player. We're waiting for Rai Rai because he's, I don't know, doing something. I hate collegiate people. But I don't know. I feel like this is pretty cut and dry. I mean, you even see Golu Molu was picking Astralis. That's how you know it's chalked for HK.
Wait, hold up. Golu has a less than 50% percentage. Does that mean Astralis is actually going to lose this because he picked him?
Better not. I can at least take solace in the fact that if Astralis lose this, we all go down in points. So John and I will still be tied for first.
I don't think that would be the worst thing. Do you have like a side pot going with John right now? Just making sure that if one of you loses, the other one has to go out as well?
No.
No?
Totally not. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, we've kind of milked this game for all it's worth. We can talk about the next game, though. PV Vipers. Who did you vote?
I got
Who did you vote
Vipers.
for?
I
also chose
who did I on paper vote for? I'm pretty sure I picked Vipers. Yeah, I did. I picked Vipers.
Pretty sure I also picked Vipers because I don't know, PV just haven't looked incredible. I think my confidence in them has kind of shaken a little bit. Let me just double check. I did pick Vipers. Yeah, I mean Vipers beat 6 Karma 7-3. Like, wow. That's it. That's all I got. That's why I think Vipers are gonna win.
I'm a little surprised that Vipers and Parabellum are both in that spot, and given the fact that one of them would have to go to the 2-2 bracket, and combine that alongside the fact that Astralis is probably going to be there, we may see a tier 1 team not make it to the Swiss stage. A little surprising.
That would be crazy.
Well, we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back from the break, hopefully our teams are ready, and we're right into Chalet. We'll see you in a few.
Cards on a double, though, and he finds a third to the smoke. It's just an ult. And he gets a 3K with an ult.
With 3 seconds left, Final lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time.
He clutches it out! What a play from the alibi as the lobby player goes unchecked.
Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully that break wasn't too long. Pretty sure everyone is back, so we can get into the game shortly. But we were just talking about our predictions while we were off stream, and I have only got 5 wrong the whole season so far. I'm very proud of that.
Wish. I'm sitting at 9. I'm about 65%. He's chilling at like, what, 73, 75, whatever the heck number you were chilling at. Anywho,
Something like that.
into Chalet. Astralis start off on the attacking side here and on border for map 2. They chose border attack. 74% of y'all think that Astralis is going to win. I'm actually surprised that number's not.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, every time a T1 team takes on a T3 team, it's usually like 80.
That's a good point. However, I don't have a however. So,
This is the Hong Kong Rebels. There's no way they're losing this, right?
yeah, surely.
Well,
We'll see what the bans are. Probably gonna be a Nook ban, just like always. I would have to imagine. Then probably like a hard breacher or something. There's the Nook ban from HK Rebels. Though I guess Astralis could go a couple different ways. I know that HK really like the Nook. Or sorry, not the Nook. What am I saying? The Ying. But they're actually gonna ban Lion, one of their most played operators. That's interesting.
I have to say I'm a little bit surprised about that one. The Azami ban I'm not too surprised about, especially considering that HK Rebels are able to play flexible around their own environment. You don't want to allow them to do so. Final Defender ban, Valkyrie. Denying information there on the HK Rebels, not too out of the blue, but I'm still surprised about that Lion ban, considering we were looking at J90 earlier. Most played operator Lion. Curious to see how that one would affect them. Into round 1, though. Astralis again start on the attack. HK Rebels defense currently wields 2 Frenchmen, as Rai and Burnt Turkey will pick up the dock and perspective.
You know what I just realized?
What's that?
Because you said 73%. That was the number that was shown on the graphic. And I was thinking, I was like, wait a minute. That doesn't sound right. 21 out of 26 is way more than that. I have an 81% Ferme.
He probably doesn't have the newest one update.
Oh, that's true. Oh, well. I'm saying it out loud. John and I are tied with an 81% because we are the greatest of all time. We're just the greatest to ever do it. Anyway, into master bedroom first for HK Rebels. A bit odd. I say that every single time we see this site played first. It's the worst on this map, unequivocally. Almost everyone agrees that it's the worst site. So why do teams still keep going here? Is it comfort? Is it the refusal to adapt here? I mean, maybe we'll see something special with the Doc Rook combo.
I think it's just the free will that they're employing. That's the main reason they want to keep playing Master.
Do you believe in free will?
Well, I believe that HK Rebels currently is exercising it, because if they didn't, then just about any deity in the world would try to lead them to the most, well, prevalent and highest win rate-based defensive site, but Vapoa picking up the opener. Jack tries to jump in towards that fireplace stairway, and already now 3 openers. Apparently, Master Office works a little bit better than we thought.
It works better when you have a really good library hold that Astralis are just kind of walking into rather than clearing. Losing 3 bodies here just for Millies, who's already gone 1-1. Now, Shuttle is attempting to challenge the horizontal completely by himself, and he's going to be punished for it. Left on 1 HP now. Iconic has since dropped to join him, no longer interested in taking the library control, considering they've already killed Millies. Do they even know the site is upstairs? The site's not down here. This is just a vertical hold.
I don't think they do, and that could be a small problem. If they don't clear out Vapoa sooner rather than later, Vapoa is actually not even going to take place in that fight, and it's Doug to drop 1 more. Now down to just Iconic in a 1 versus 4. Has the F2 in hand, so a caveat there. Certainly possible, but an ace clutch required. They'll try to break in towards piano, a fake in that general direction, back towards the piano doorway. Wanting to take a first fight, only doing damage.
Only does a little bit to Rai. More dealt to himself, and Doug swings around the corner, rejoining his team on the site. And that's a pretty decent first round for HK Rebels, all things considered. I mean, Astralis didn't really look like they had a solid clear. Maybe they didn't expect someone to be beneath supporting the roam. But otherwise, not a great take and good capitalization from the defense.
It looked a little odd, their take and how it was set up. You could see Astralis trying to initiate lower on the first floor, and it just didn't work out for them because they didn't account for the extension. Didn't drone before actually walking in, tried to face check just about everything, and then got, well, shot in the face. Fairly well put together from HK Rebels. I think the surprise factor really played into their success there, and they're going to bring it out again. Doug now going to pick up the Doc rather than Rai, that of the previous round, and Millie's now going on to the Warden, expecting some semblance of utility-based aggression from Astralis, whether it be flashes, smokes, the combination of the two, or a Ying, considering she's unbanned. Really only looks like a couple flashes and maybe a set of smokes.
It could also just be that they need a shield op, and Millie's wants MPX 1.5.
Fair.
Could be as simple as that. The return of Melusi, even though she's been switched to a 3 armor, a couple teams have opted to lower her pick rate, at least for them personally, but HK Rebels don't seem to be one of those teams. They've got a library hold going on once again because, of course, this is bar stock. You got to have some people stationed up there. You got to have that top blue hold, rather the support for the top blue hold. I like that bulletproof cam too, to watch all the way down the hallway, but the first target for the attack is going to have to be Vipoa. They want to go horizontal here and start with a dining clear. But this guy is just sitting there watching the window jump in. If J90 tries to jump in, I mean, there's no way in hell he's surviving, which is why Spiff has decided to go upstairs, drops in that solar window. He's got pings on this alibi, and he'll start going on the hunt.
They continuous pings as well. The drone's heard, so it is at least shot out. The information continuously lost, however, for a small period of time, at least gained. Here comes J90. Just trying to walk forward. Spit, my apologies, just walking forward. Shots forward first. Vipoa baited into it and lost. As Rai also takes damage, that across is Shuttle to drop Rai. And just like that, Astralis, well, they lost 2 openers in the previous round. This time, it's 2 in their favor.
Really nice angle from the rappel there to cover his teammate clearing in, and those are the 2 players downstairs. Now someone from HK Rebels is going to have to fall back off the upstairs hold onto site, which not only weakens the site presence because you're replacing 2 anchors with 1, but weakens your top floor hold. So all around, HK Rebels not sitting as pretty as they once were. Art Turkey seems to be the man who's rotated downstairs, leaving Millie's and Doug still above to defend Library. Forrest gets off the rappel now on the Library balcony. Will be the next one to try and pressure Doug, opening the window, cutting off some avenue for the Doc, because we saw him playing rather flexibly throughout Library. Hard breach trying to go out, but of course Doug is in the corner. He'll be able to shoot off all the X-Kairos. And now Forrest knows for certain that there's still someone lingering, but now Burnt Turkey dies. J90 walks his way in, kills the only side anchor. Everyone's just funneling in the top floor. Millie's trying to cover his teammate, goes down to Shuttle, and Shuttle's just going to sprint right on in. He dies to the bailiff, but 2 is all Doug can get. Iconic's got that refrag, and Astralis tie the score.
The aggression there from Astralis really worked out for them, throwing off how the HK Rebels were trying to hold. Even having the Warden online and avoiding the flashbangs correctly, you just did not see that flexibility work out because of how many different avenues of attack Astralis had set up for themselves prior. A flashbang into Library allowed the cross forward. That was by Shuttle. They were just sitting in the middle of Library, not fully cleared. And in that engagement, the Warden walks forward, dies from behind because he didn't see the walk-in from the mezzanine window, and Astralis were able to bring around back. Surprisingly on that bar gaming hold, even though they lost Master Office. A little bit pass backwards if you ask me, but still 1-1.
HK Rebels continuing the rotation of their sites. They opt for dining next. Astralis taking the buck from J90, so that once they take this top floor control, they'll be able to work the vertical. And that also kind of lets us know that they'll probably be full clearing the top floor rather than just opening the office wall and stationing someone there, making sure the defenders can't use office vert, as some teams do. They just try to take it minimal. They don't want to lose too many bodies on said roam clear, so they just have kind of a pseudo flank watch while they get the plant down. But if you're taking that buck, the only thing that buck is going to be used for is vert down and vert up, just in case someone's playing on solar and trophy as well. J90 has plenty of options. He could even go down into big garage and use vertical upwards, and judging by the entry into snowmobile garage, that might be the idea.
Astralis again looking to play vertical, as they indicated in round number 1, but didn't actually bring to fruition. So round number 3, seemingly their second attempt at it. And the odd part for them is that it's not very vertical from below, at least the site of kitchen dining. Yeah, a little bit of the dining room, sure, but not all that much past that. And the odd position, how can they clear out the top floor while also flexing some of their prowess from down below? You can see them trying to initiate around piano side, maybe aggressing in towards the office as well. They've droned out fairly well and gained a decent bit of real estate, but they haven't turned that into any kills. And a minute and 15 seconds, not the earliest expected kills, but you'd still like to have 1 or 2, especially considering a decent bit of what they've dedicated.
J90, after droning himself in, has now cleared all the way through the basement. Looking to Gone 6 the barbed wire, but doesn't know if he wants to reveal his location at the bottom of West Main just yet. The office wall has been opened by Forrest, and he'll now go to work here on dining. So, yeah, it doesn't look like they'll be going for the top floor clear. Instead, J90 is going to be working the vert upwards and maybe walking up West Main at some point in the round here. As more of the wall gets opened, J90 busts the barbed wire, doesn't want to make his move just yet, and this Osa shield's going to be really powerful for the Dokkaebi upstairs. Of course, to use his utility, he doesn't need to be around his team as the smokes go out. Forrest is starting that plant. J90 is looking to just work his way up West Main, catch the defense off guard while they're distracted by the plant, but they're not even going to try to stop it. I mean, they have nothing to stop it. The plant goes down, trades go the way of Astralis. J90, unknown in West Main, gets a freebie on Rai, and even though Forrest is down with the death there of Burnt Turkey, the round is over. Beautifully played by Astralis.
That was that verticality that J90 was looking for earlier, but this time instead decides to just walk up West Main. You were talking about them breaking the barbed wire prior, but instead of aggressing directly after that and just playing directly off of the sound cues you've already given over, instead you saw J90 wait 10, 15 seconds, force HK Rebels to look a different direction. That direction being the entryway into dining, because that's where the plant was going down. And as soon as that chaos ensued, J90 was able to push off of that, gain free West Main control, and find 2 kills from behind to give Astralis the round. Little unfortunate for HK Rebels, the fact they did not bring the Warden in that round, when it probably would have been a little bit more useful. Nonetheless, it's a round victory, and now 2 in a row for Astralis, as they will have to attack the only round and site in which they've lost.
Maybe this is why HK Rebels are bringing the master bedroom. Maybe it's the only site they feel comfortable on. They'll certainly probably feel more comfortable on it than basement, seeing as how they haven't brought it out just yet. Switch to the buck for shuttle switch to the sledge from shuttle off the buck that J90 was running, likely for those nades. We can duo with Iconic with those explosives. Spiff now picking up Nomad, interestingly enough, passing the Iana to his teammate. Ooh, Nomad up. Are they playing for a solar take?
That, or they're playing to make sure that Solarium can't be quickly aggressed upon.
Here's the spawns.
That would be the Nomad. And, well, already they're looking to aggress in that general direction, yeah. Omniscience, apparently, from Harrison over here. And you see odd decisions in terms of operator selection, but given where they're pushing, this works out perfectly. Getting those air jabs down fairly quickly should work out fairly well, and Doug has to drop away after taking a decent bit of damage from, well, a country mile away. Already down to about 40 HP.
So you kind of think about it. Where is Nomad really going to be used if you're taking in through library? Like Blue Stairs?
Nowhere.
Like, and that's kind of it. Much more useful here on Solar because of the plethora of runouts there are on Chalet. Instead of having to dedicate bodies to watching them, just use those air jabs. And we saw Spiff use all 3 of his air jabs off spawn on exterior runouts. Tons of utility going on the solar stairs. The nade immediately downing Rai. The second one to confirm, but he's since healed. The power of the Doc, getting up with full overhealed HP. He withstands through the nade and is back to full HP like it never happened.
You know, if he wasn't on Rook, he would have actually died the second time as well. He had the Rook armor to overheal him to 145, and that actually got him up to 165 to survive a 140 damage nade. Ever so poetic that Astralis can't find the kill because of it. On the bright side, they've currently expired all of at least both of his, or all three of those Doc stims, but all to do very little, and they've wasted a full kit of utility between Forest and Spiff and Shuttle, and unfortunately for them, you didn't find all that much if you are Shuttle either.
This is tough. With using all of those nades, they've completely lost out on their solar take, but that is a fantastic first kill for Iconic. He takes one out. Millies, as he tries to swing back over, gets cut down by Shuttle, or sorry, by J9O holding the crossfire. I don't even know where Shuttle got his kill from, and just like that, it's a 5v2. I thought it was going to be in the dirt for Astralis. I mean, they tried to put all their eggs in the basket of solar and were completely unsuccessful, but immediately switching to that library take with a minute and a half still left in the round, getting the kills on that side of the map, having the crossfires to cover each other, and having a successful solo lurk below from Shuttle turns the round on its head. J9O just jumped through bathroom and will refrag his teammate. Forest walks on in and gets the last kill, and Astralis with a fantastic recovery to win the round.
It was again the flexibility playing perfectly to the stars, and just like that, they take what was a fully dedicated Solarium take, move it around towards library and mezzanine as well, and still leave a lurk on at least the Solarium bathroom side rather than anywhere else in the map, allowing that aggression from J9O to find not only kill, but a whole lot of control. Granted, it was a 5 versus 2 already in that situation, but Astralis were playing extremely aggressive at that point regardless, and decided, let's just continue to send it. They played around their man advantage, the trades ended up favoring them, and HK Rebels just were not ready for the complete switch on a dime. It looked like a crossover in the NBA, and even more executable.
Yeah, that was a fantastic adjustment. And the timeout definitely makes sense here now from Hong Kong Rebels. They're the ones who called it. After losing a round like that, I would want the timeout too. Everything was going in your favor. The attackers were starved of utility. They have to completely switch their take, and you still lose in a dominant fashion as well. You chose defense, and you're down 1-3. Things are not going quite as they planned. They'll switch to dining room and kitchen now. They saw how easily Astralis were able to open the breach and how easily they abused the time they had left after opening the breach, and Burnt Turkey's now taking Cade. I agree with the decision, though Astralis have Dokkaebi with secondary EMPs and a Twitch and plenty of nades. So I don't know if the Cade is going to do all that much to stop Forest.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
It is Astralis taking kitchen dining again. Last time around, the issue mainly for HK Rebels was the fact that they had top floor control, but they didn't try and play actively inside of the office. So yeah, they still had top floor, but it wasn't actionable to go down and play that verticality towards the dining room. That was their main issue. That and the fact that they were just too far back on the sites themselves. Kind of a combination of the two, they just did not play further south enough on the first or second floors. And just like that, it was Astralis taking a whole lot of real estate, very little utility, just a few smokes, extra bit of flashbangs, combine the two, and bang, you have a site take. This time around, HK Rebels understand their issue. Number one, they're bringing in the Kai. Number two, the Maestro for information, relay immediately, and possible damage with the and if we'll go up a floor, guarantee there's that control. You can see Vipoa trying to get aggressive, but instead we'll just keep with Millies on this more south side take. I was talking about the adaptability from Astralis. Here's HK Rebels understanding what went wrong and now trying to adapt to it and make sure it doesn't go wrong again.
You saw the Cade Claws being placed by Burnt Turkey, one upstairs, one downstairs. And I think they also, I think the upstairs one covers the downstairs wall? No, okay, never mind. It's two. I forgot it's like farther
Yeah.
forward. So, um, the nades can easily take care of those. Twitch drone could also easily take care of those. Like I said, there we go. So first one, it didn't even waste a minute. Easy. The second one, I imagine, will probably do the same. Or Astralis could walk on in the top floor, full take it, and then just shoot the Cade Claw from above. We'll have to see if they have a different strategy. Considering they're not taking the Osa like they did last time, the whole strategy with Osa was just open the walls, sit someone upstairs behind the Osa shield, and that's how they prevent the office vert from being used by the defense. But like I said, now they don't have those Talon shields. And it looks like they're full clearing. Great trade from Shuttle, but not before J90 goes down and they lose that Dokkaebi and all the phone calls still left in her pocket.
Almost being able to find a second. Shadow does indeed, but the jump through, it's Burnt Turkey, dropping him. Down goes Iconic, so still that 2-for-2 trade. Finally, another return. Again, it's a repelling kill, this time from Solarium, as Shuttle doubles up on the round itself. And Astralis, they clear out that top floor hold, take out a whole lot of defensive utility, and still have 60 seconds to drop down to the first floor and try and take the site itself. The question now remains, do they take too long? Always an issue you have to worry about if you're on the attacking side. Rai safe for the time being. Doug playing towards 45, possibly trying to set up a flank, decides better of it. But here comes Astralis. They're in a fairly prime position to start to push forward and still have utility to work with.
Yana Clone spotting out Rai, a nade to follow up, but the Maestro able to rotate away, then spotted by the drone, will come back into the nade and get punished. Pre-fire down by Shuttle as he hops through the trophy window, leaving Doug alone. They hear the barb. Doug gets a nice kill, puts it in a 1 versus 2, but that's not the case carrier. It's Forrest. He's already inside the site, planting, getting it down, 1 second left, not completing it, actually lifting off, just as Spiff connected with initial first couple shots, but they don't need the plant. Spiff finishes the Jaeger off, and Astralis take another round.
I say I'm a little disappointed there for Astralis not picking up that statistic to play around the objective. Stats meaning everything, of course. But fairly well put together round. That right there, by the way, it was just down to the aggression from Shuttle on the repels. That's really what gave them that top floor clear. With the aggression horizontally from the rest of the team throwing off at least the situational awareness from HK Rebels, and then Shuttle just repelling, not only on that double master window, but on the Solarium window as well, to drop, at the time, the retreating Burnt Turkey Kaid. A double kill, top floor control, and a lot of time to work with gives Astralis that round. If Shuttle doesn't find either of those 2 kills, you're probably looking at either a 5 versus 4 or a 5 versus 3 later on, with HK Rebels still controlling most of that second. And Astralis not having the time.
Yeah, the timing on those repels too from Shuttle was immaculate. Getting the kill big window as his team starts to pressure back those roamers, and then rotating to trophy for the cut. Wonderfully played. Also got to give it up to Iconic for getting the kill in bathroom, because had he not done that, it would have been a little bit more difficult for Astralis to take piano control. Otherwise, almost flawless round so far from Astralis, and what really doesn't bode well for the Rebels is the fact that this was the round after the timeout. You're usually expected to win those. You're usually expected to take a timeout and then bounce back at minimum on the next round, but they weren't able to. So Astralis now fully in the driver's seat, up 4-1, on the verge of going up 5-1 because they're forcing this defense to go back to bar.
I don't know how well this is going to work out, because the only site that HK Rebels really looked good on was Master Office, and it was a fairly clean round for them, don't get me wrong. But the issue was, second time around, they just kind of collapsed off of the aggression from Astralis and flexibility around them. Doug picking up the P90, usually you see that as a solace here in Year 7, Season 4. Not so much here for the HK Rebels, as they decide that the French operators are indeed their more experienced set, and it's working out fairly well for them, considering the GIGN combination's been doing pretty good. Specifically Doug on that dock.
At the very least, Astralis have redundancy in the hard breach. We've got Iconic on the ace, who's busy working Vert right now with his breaching charges. They have pings on one who just dropped through that wine hatch, so Vipoa able to elude the clear, at least for now. Burt Turkey joining him in the basement. Now both of them rotating back upstairs to join their team on the site. So all this top floor control now, Astralis will begin to take, and their next target will be Millie's sitting in Chimney, along with the person he's trying to protect in Library. And after losing Forest, and with now only about a minute 20 remaining, Astralis are going to start to be pressed for time.
Stark contrast to the previous round as well, as Astralis is taking a little bit too long to get this clear, and even though they are gaining a decent bit of real estate, they haven't gained the kills for it. That's an issue they're going to continue to run into if they cannot find any of this control. Fairly placed Botero drone will push the Jaeger back, but Doug, with the recontest, will find the kill onto J90. And just like that, it's a triple for Doug on the round. Looking for a quad, will find that as well. Dropping Iconic, Millie's to steal the ace away, but the HK Rebels with a flawless final round of the half. It's 4-2 in favor of Astralis. As you noted, towards the first part of the game, the question now remains, as HK Rebels switch to the attack, can they turn it into a round and game win?
Not only that, but the way in which they won that last round, I was off a solo play from Doug. If that doesn't happen, then how does the round progress? At the very least, they did win it flawlessly, so there is merit to that. And now Astralis switching on to the defense, bringing the Mira, bringing the Solus, two powerful operators that were left up in the ban phase, and who HK Rebels didn't play a single time. And I know a lot of teams, that they have their game plan going into it. If there are powerful operators unbanned, if they're not in the game plan, then they don't want to run it. But my fear is that HK Rebels aren't going to know how to play against it either, especially considering how often Mira is banned on Chalet.
My big note for a lot of teams, and specifically myself, is I don't like to bring or see teams bring an operator just because they're available. Mira, sure, you can bring her in if you have a game plan for her, but if you're more comfortable and you have more experience on a setup that is different from that, assuming you don't have a contingency plan for, I don't know, an unbanned Mira, kind of like our current situation, I don't think the greatest position is just running her because she's available. Now, I do like the fact that Astralis at least have something set up for her, and you can see the flexibility around the team composition for that spot, but they have no late round utility other than a single impact courtesy of Spiff. Combine that alongside, well, just Solace, period, that's really all of your utility that hasn't already been placed down.
Capcan also getting picked here by Spiff. The two players I thought were going to play Solus, not playing her. Instead, that's Iconic. He's lurking down, and he was lurking down below, hunting for drones, but it seems like he'll also be on a light support here for the top floor roamers. But Vipoa is able to just get in Library and walk up on Spiff. So really early kill here for HK Rebels, and the Chimney player at that. That's a great first frag for Vipoa. That's going to pressure Shuttle to try and move up, get a refrag, but then fall back. But here's Iconic coming up the blue stairs, seeing on the Solus that there's no flank drones watching him, and gets that equalizer.
4 versus 4, but dropping Spiff is not the #1 priority for them. Spiff, again, only had an impact and already put down the EDDs. The return in that, Vipoa falling, no nades, and no continuous information being able to get relayed. Forest's drop, however, significantly more important, and in a follow-up, even further as they drop Shuttle down. It goes from the 4 versus 4 to the 4 versus 2. And the HK Rebels not looking like they want to slow down anytime soon, but neither's J90, even on this 2-man disadvantage, trying to walk through Piano and possibly bring it back.
Iconic could deny plant from below, but he doesn't want to leave the Warden upstairs alone. There's one for J90, but can't get the second. The wraparound from Iconic. He sees the barrel of the gun from the Twitch, but has to re-engage as Millie's comes around the corner. HK Rebels successfully win their first attack.
That's the start. First one's always the most difficult, especially for an attacking side, and a surprising setup for Astralis doesn't work out for them. Now they'll head to the basement. Now they'll head to bar gaming as they decide to switch things up for a second or two. And this composition for Astralis not working out all that well. Shadow was there. J9O sure as well, but the surprising composition, I don't think they flexed around it enough, especially around that cap can where the aggression
Attackers need to
could have
locate
worked,
and
but it
defuse
just
as
did not
many
come
bombs
through.
as they can.
And Capcan, I think, is a tough operator to like find direct impact with, because it kind of relies a little bit more on the attackers being lax than it does like, oh, your own Capcan play. I mean, sure, there's some really sneaky spots, but I don't think you can go into a round thinking that like, oh, you're guaranteed some damage with the Capcan traps. But you are right in the fact that if you place them correctly, it will slow down the attack at least by a little bit. But putting them on windows is never the play. And unfortunately for Spiff there, that was really the only direction that the attackers could have possibly been coming from. And Vipoa got the drop on him. So Astralis not opting to go there again. They'll switch to bar with, again, a much more in-depth library hold instead of just Spiff holding on to Chimney with the with the cap can. Now there's 3 players dedicated upstairs: Spiff, J9O, and Iconic. Shuttle even now joining them. What's interesting about this though is that the player on Chimney is J9O on Smoke. Oh my god, Forrest is upstairs too.
J9O has the FMG9 though, and I've seen this a little bit more consistency, where a defensive side will bring more impacts than they do shotguns, because secondary shotguns exist for a few operators, and the FMG9, fairly good gun, in my personal opinion. You know, you have everybody bringing the Nook. Honestly, not too bad on the defensive side either. Forrest will move around, try to avoid the drones that come through, and the aggression looking to come up Solarium stairs, expecting Vipoa, but winning the fight anyway. The drop through the hatch as Burnt Turkey goes in towards the kitchen. Forrest decides he wants to impact himself rather than a rotate hole nor a peek hole into the kitchen itself, but still safe for the time being. And here comes the assist from behind. Clean kill. And Forrest able to finish it off. Astralis with a 5v3, and HK Rebels need to recuperate and gain back what they've now lost.
Nice play there from Forrest and Shuttle, but I do have to question Vipoa a little bit. Why would he not be gun up in that scenario if he's looking at the trophy stairs? Or maybe he was and he just whiffed.
He just missed.
Yeah, Forrest even going to get healed back to full HP through the hatch by his dock. So it's like the damage that at least Vipoa was able to inflict never even happened. Now 5 versus 3, and HK Rebels have not even begun to clear library. They've at least dusted the shield with the Flores drone on top blue, but Doug can't make his way through this Ivy window. Spiff gets his own kill onto Rai, putting us in a 5 versus 2, thanks to his play in the library connector. Really exposed, but still able to make it work. Now these last 2 attackers have to figure out what the hell's going on. Millie's was on the office balcony, but sitting outside of windows as an attacker is not going to make the defense move. They're going to have to take the stand and push on forward. Flashes start to go in, maybe to clear the way for Doug. He'll finally jump in, but he loses the fight to Spiff, and Millie's is now alone, left to pick up the pieces. He'll get Forrest trying to climb up. He'll get another nice shot onto Iconic. Pistol comes out, attempting to finish Spiff. Millie's has to back off and reload, and the precious time is ticking away. 15 seconds remaining to get 3 whole kills, 2 upstairs and 1 beneath. Yeah, there's no chance it's going to happen. He just walks in and kills himself on the smoke, giving Astralis their 5th round.
I honestly think he would have died even if he ran straight through that. Only 2 ticks were required to take him out. Clean damage done earlier on. Astralis a little bit of an overheat to try and take that fight, but as soon as they realize that there's even a risk of losing the round, they back out, they turtle just a little bit, and play around their own utility. And just like that, it's the round for them. They regain after dropping their first, and now we'll head to master bedroom and office. Why is nobody going to the bottom floors of tertiary? Did I miss a memo that Snowmobile Garage is Ixnay on the say? That's how that works.
It is.
Attackers
I don't know.
need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Especially with Mira up.
I don't know. I still think that the only reason is the fact that teams don't concurrently practice Mira while also having Snowmobile Garage as an active site. So because Mira is most often not banned, they decide rather than, hey, let's spend so much time trying out a bottom side hold Mira, instead we'll try out something different without her. Even though they are still bringing Mira out for,
I don't know either. But we'll see if Astralis have a successful master hold. Still bringing that Mira, having a bandit too from Forest, who might be bandit tricking the main wall, which would certainly be a sight to see. HK Rebels now rocking Thatcher on Millies. Up against this bandit. Might not do a lot. Forest actually bringing barbed wire bandit. Wow, rather than the C4. That's a bit odd, considering you already have 2 sets.
Shadow looking for a drone. Won't be able to find it. Here comes a Twitch drone, though. Trying to find out that
He's like body
Mira...
blocking the Mira. Oh,
He doesn't
wow.
find it! Oh, no. The body block from... the Aruni just body blocking. You feel a little bit bad. Iconic's just chilling there. But, hey, 1 Twitch drone down, still 1 available. Second time's a charm, maybe? He does get away, but I think it's been seen. Now Iconic's watching it.
Yeah.
Oh,
He heard
missed.
Doug doing that initial jump allowed Iconic to hear it, but at least Vipoa gets in and gets the drop on the chimney player again. I don't know how he's able to do this like every single time, but he just gets in library for free and finds his opening. So good job to Vipoa for opening up the round and forcing the Jaeger of Spiff back. Luckily, J9 Known's still here. He can play the long angles with the castle, the 1.5 and the UMP. Shuttles also pushed rather forward thanks to the mirror window here. Unfortunately for him, the wall next to him will be opened. He'll be forced to fall back. He's not popping the mirror, though. Is he still trying to... I think he's still trying to play with it. Oh, you can't anymore.
Yeah, it's taken out. And that was from that double window. The Gemini replicator comes through. I'm not sure if that saw Spiff, who was just chilling there, or Shuttle, who was just chilling there. And you can see just still waiting on the back side of the half wall / close corner outside on the balcony. There's the walk in. Burnt Turkey, not worrying about it. Millies, however, is a first now found in a 5 versus 3. Decent bit of damage returned and a kill as well, but Shadow just looking to swing around it and not doing enough damage on that return. Burnt Turkey's safe to be retrieved, but look at J9O, still waiting inside of Master. 3 different long angles held here for the defensive side. I just don't think it's lethal enough for them. There's the swing from Iconic, and J9O's taken care of. Iconic no longer for this world either. HK Rebels, 2 of 3 rounds in this second half, starting their comeback and solidifying it just a little bit more.
Good job with that library take. Like I said, Vipoa just kind of walking his way in and claiming the life of Forest. HK Rebels kind of spiraled it, opening that breach, getting rid of the mirror window, having the info on site to challenge the long angles and kill Shuttle playing close. And at that point, the plant that I think it was the plant that Rai was going for behind that half wall was incredibly safe. There were no C4s for Astralis to play with, and they were all playing way too far back to have any say about it anyway. That round was nearly unwinnable at that point. Good job to Hong Kong Rebels for closing it out. As we go back to Dining, where HKR had won, again, thanks to a great library clear, spiraling into the take. And what Astralis really need to do, the only thing they got to do to make sure that their library hold is successful is just stop Vipoa from jumping in for free.
200 IQ, courtesy of Crow. Just shoot Vipoa forehead. I'm honestly going to say, yeah, I think the issue for Astralis is that their attention's being split so often because they don't have enough players watching that general area. So in this round, for instance, you would see Spiff waiting on that mezzanine side for the walk-in from library, which would technically be watched, but as soon as they're pressured from behind on the mezzanine double, which is kind of being watched by Forest, but they can't actionably take out every single facet of that double window, they also need a little bit more of an assistance, and they just aren't getting it from library because it's not a bar gaming hold, it's kitchen dining. It's a little chaotic, and, well, Vipoa is going to jump in with a Gemini replicator, and that's going to be shot out, but now Burnt Turkey, trying to pressure, will drone through, and with this drone, they should be able to just jump straight into library, and just like that, Spiff backs away. Astralis already give up almost the entire south side of the map with regards to the bottom floor only.
Well, at the very least, no one dies on that library hold. They give it up pretty early, but they don't sustain any loss of life, which is great. Something that is a bit confusing is the fact that Forest is taking a prox alarm and Spiff has impact, so there's no indirect plant denial at all for this defense, unless you count Iconic playing below on the Solus. He could potentially have something to say. That is a fantastically timed run out from Spiff, but by Poe's there on the Ivy window for the trade. But hey, I mean, 1 for 1, you take out a set of nades. Not too bad, considering they only sacrifice a Capcan.
And again, the impacts were already down. Looking straight down was Shuttle, but it's returned upon. Forest there with the refrag, and just like that, Poa also down. There goes another set of nades, and not a positive trade, I think, in that engagement, but you're still probably favoring yourselves if you're Astralis, considering it's your Jaeger that you've lost, and you've taken out, again, the Iana. That's continuous information and nades off the board. Even an EDD goes off as Millies tries to walk in towards office, so a decent bit of damage taken in that regard. But Astralis with some semblance of an advantage. But with 60 seconds left, they've also dropped off the top floor.
I said that Solus could deny the plant from below because I thought they were actually upstairs in Master. I completely forgot they switched to dining. So Iconic can't deny the plant from below because upstairs is not the site. He could get info on where the plant is, but it's not really going to help him. He's probably looking to try and retake top floor at some point, I would have to imagine, but they might not need to. Forest playing a very long angle with the Vector, aided by the mirror window, takes out one, looking for the second. I think that's Doug teasing the entry into the breach. He and Millie is completely split apart, looking to pinch onto the site in a 2 versus 3. They know where Millie's is thanks to his shots coming through the floor. Someone's already watching it. J9O kills him with ease. Doug takes out one, but doesn't look the right way. Astralis, round number 10, and now map point.
Clean double from J9O as well. Able to watch 2 different angles because of not only the break next to that mirror window, but the door frame next to him, and differentiating those angles to near perfection. Taking one fight without being vulnerable to the other with the knowledge of where both players were. And just like that, it's the round for Astralis and now map point on their own map selection. Decent top floor take. You have to give credit where credit is due to the HK Rebels. They cleared out the top floor, and they did so with a decent bit of time remaining. Just they didn't get enough kills in that regard to really give them an advantage as they dropped down. Different to that of Astralis, who on the exact same site found a full top floor clear, but a 3 versus 2 and a decent bit of utility left over as they actually walked onto the site.
Now going on to bar, Astralis are bringing the dock. Once again, Iconic donning that operator, J9O, rocking the smoke, who might be upstairs in Chimney again. I didn't see if he's got a shotgun or an FMG9. Probably if he's got a shotgun, he's on site. If he's got an FMG9, he's upstairs. Forest now on Solus. Ooh, nice drone spot. Watching Solus is so funny.
It's always weird to watch Solus because it's like, wait, this is somewhat similar to IQ, but the main difference between the two, I think, is the fact that one of them has a P12 available while using the glasses, the other just whatever the heck they want. A little different. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not happy how we kind of are recycling abilities between operators. For instance, Nook is basically just a Vigil and Cav, but without the Vigil white bars at the bottom. I don't know.
Actually, you get the white bars on Yokais, I think, and like Mozzie drones, I think, something like that. Actually, you do still get the white bars depending on the cam you're watching with Nick.
Pick up Echo more often.
Yeah, they're doing the 3-man hold upstairs again too. Spiff was unkillable in this position. Not only was he getting 2 kills for himself from Library Connector, but he had some great backup from his team. Especially Iconic playing inside of Library and J9O covering his crossfire from top fire. Forest lurking in the basement, just searching for drones. With HK Rebels switching the push now as well, no longer will they be kind of trying to take Library window control. They're all coming from Master side. This could be prime flank territory for Forest.
The flank needs to be quick. That's the one issue. If you get there too late, and HK Rebels are already walking forward and have taken away the rest of your team, they have the ability to turn around. That pressure has to be there from 2 different angles for your angle to work out. This Toxic Wave is fairly well timed. This will allow that flank to be a little bit later and more thought out. Decent bit of flash utility thrown in as the force is there, and the down as well, as J90 is put through, but so there is that stim shot. Right back up to full HP plus 20.
Millie's the first dead, thanks to Forrest, who I think is coming up for that flank. He'll get 2, and everyone's just dead. What just happened?
Lincoln, you miss it. Half the lobby just died, if not more.
Where is Forrest? Wait, where did he go? He went
Pretty
back
sure he
bottom
walked up blue. Yeah.
All right, well, game's over.
Well, that happened. I believe the flank from Forest actually turned into just retake of blue stairs. It was an odd position, certainly, for Astralis that time around, but it worked out. And the clean way they brought it back, that's exactly how you want to win a round. And, in that case, a map. They really threw off the HK Rebels, and just like that, Astralis take their own map pick, and now we're moving on to Border, of which they've done a little bit better on as of late. 7-3 again over XSET in Stage 3 of the NAL. It was okay against Reality TV, but a 5-7 loss in round 2 of the SCS Swiss. Really night and day for them, but seemingly it has to be a little bit more daylight showing if they want to continue their run through this series and season.
Yeah, this was, I have to say, a little bit what we expected. The HK Rebels did have some really solid attacks. I think their defenses were a lot shakier, but once Astralis just kind of started like stacking up, I think is where they really found success. The only times they lost was when HK Rebels were able to get a first pick in Library. Those are the only rounds HK Rebels won, was when Vipoa walked in Library and got a free beat. So, like, if that doesn't happen, Astralis are allowed to get the stack up, like we saw on both their bar defenses, just stack up 3 people holding Library, and HK Rebels can't do anything. Plus, add that to the well-timed push from Forest, and everyone in the lobby was wiped out in, like, the span of 30 seconds. So, really well done to Astralis, but that concludes map number 1, TTL. We have 1, possibly 2 more to go, and we will be back with the roundup and then Border just after this break.
Pollard's on a double though, and he finds the third through the smoke.
It's just an ult. Getting it to 3K with an ult.
With 3 seconds left, Final lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time.
He clutches it out. What a play from the Alibi as the lobby player goes unchecked.
Welcome back. If you missed map number 1 in the elimination game between Astralis and Hong Kong Rebels, well, Astralis were able to take their own map pick of Chalet 7-4, and they looked pretty confident about it.
Yeah, moving forward in Chalet, Astralis only dropped the first round in that first half and the last round in the first half. The confidence in the dead center was there, as was the refragging for the squad. This right here specifically from Shuttle. Exactly what they needed, really turned it into a round victory, but overall it seemed a little bit better for Astralis as they continue to push forward. The second half a little bit more chaotic for them, but they were able to find the refrags later on and the retakes of real estate, notably from Forest on a little bit of more consistent basis. The new Solace pick playing in their favor, and the round as a whole, alongside the maps, going their way.
The crossfires, especially the crossfires and refrags, were a really big highlight on the defenses that Astralis were able to put together. The only rounds that HK Rebels were able to take on their attacking side was when Vipoa was allowed to jump into Library and basically get a freebie. Other than that, Astralis played the stack-ups really well. Janano went 12-5, playing Dokkaebi, Warden, and a lot of smoke as well. Spiff having a really good game. Even everyone on Astralis really having a pretty decent game, all things considered. J90 was 0-2 on entry. That's really the only blemish. Meanwhile, in HK Rebels, sure, Doug was 14-7. He was doing really well individually on the fragging role that he's usually on. Vipoa was having a pretty good day on entry, but everyone else was lagging behind him, especially guys like Rai and Burnt Turkey.
I think the difference between these two teams was the consistency was there for the top two on both sides, but the bottom three, Shuttle Forest and Iconic up against Millie's, Burnt Turkey, and Rai, that was the real stark differences. Forest was dead even on entries, Iconic was even +1, but not only that, it was the roles that they played that were a little bit more cohesive for the rest of the squad. I want to notably throw that to the difference between Millie's and J90 that we brought up earlier between the statistical analysis. Millie's didn't show up as much as their stats indicated they may. J90, stark difference. Top fragging, didn't do well in entries. I don't think he particularly cares. As we head into border, Millie's needs to change something. Operator composition, availability to just walk forward and take kills, winning gunfights, you name it, probably.
Especially on a map like Border, you can't have someone going 2-8 like we saw Rai, or even 4-8 like Burnt Turkey playing that flex role. Border has always been frag heavy. It remains frag heavy, especially because on the defense, you really play the whole map. If you don't have a confident spearhead on your attack, you're going to struggle to take map control. And every bit of map control on this map is important. You almost never see minimal takes on Border for a reason. There's so many long angles. There's so much verticality that the defense can employ that you are forced to clear almost every inch of the map out. We'll load into Border. HK Rebels starting on the defense, Astralis opting for the attacking side. We'll head right into the operator bans.
Bans should stay a little bit more consistent here. You could see some differences. I don't know if Nook's going to be banned considering how small Border is, but Astralis' availability to just take operators that are good and are unbanned and turn that into round victories, a notable look back at the previous map. They used Mira, and I think that note may lead to HK Rebels still taking the Nook out, and they do. Not too far of a cry, but still a little bit of a waste of a ban, especially considering the condensed nature of Border.
And especially considering Solace has been left up too, who hard counters Nook. Flores is the next ban from Astralis. Good ban on this map. A lot of shield play you can employ on Border, again, because of those long lines of sight. Flores will not be available. Mira, operator that Astralis played a lot last map, and here's the Solus ban. We were talking about it. I was talking about it with who was it? I think it was Bio. No, wait, it was yesterday. Who did I cast yesterday? Inrio. I was talking to Inrio about it. How Solus, yeah, my bad. How Solus is much better on maps with more verticality and more opportunity to like run out and get drones, like Chalet, like Villa, like Border, right? So maps like this, I'm not surprised we're going to see her banned on at all. And then maps like, Oregon, Clubhouse, where you usually see her left up. So I was a little shocked that we still saw her on Chalet, especially with after the game that Foxe had Solus and was just dismantling the attack with her utility. But we're not going to see her here.
Remember, it's still Oxygen. I think that's the main difference. Foxe, Newer's existing, little bit differences. For all of you wondering, just statistical-wise, who the best team on paper is right now, it is Oxygen. Just based off of their dominance, they were 7-2 over HKR, they were 7-1 over ALRIs, and then they 2-0'd Luminosity in that promotion game. It was a 7-5, 7-4. They have the best round differential in SCS Swiss by a fairly large margin, even fairly above S2, who also put forward, but they went to OT against the Vipers and lost a map against Reality Team.
Yeah, it's been smooth sailing for OXG. Can't say the same for both of their NAL counterparts, even less so Astralis when compared to PB, considering PB just beat them. We'll see if they can stay afloat and go to our 2-2 tiebreaker game. All they've got to do is win this next map against HK Rebels or win the decider. Either way, just looking at map history, it seems to favor Astralis, so I definitely consider them in the driver's seat right now. Remember, they did lose this map to Reality TV, but it was a 7-5, and Tristan dropped 19 to win that game. In the normal season of NAL, Astralis won this map 7-3 against Xset. Doug, who had a hell of a map on Chalet, will be our first casualty on Border thanks to Iconic.
Greatest start, especially considering that's your Oryx down. The aggression for HK Rebels already away. There's really two schools of thought. Number one, you lose a fragger. Number two, I suppose, you lose no utility. So, two different sides of the coin. I'm a little happy for HK Rebels that they only lost the Oryx, but given the fact that it was Doug, who was the only player above 10 kills in the previous map, not the greatest position for them to be in, and now the aggression to return by Poa with a Mark 14 dropping Jack as they drop out, or dropping, Spiff as they run out. The return's there, but now doubled up as Astralis wasting no time, and now with utility trying to just collapse onto the defense for HKR.
Astralis able to get those necessary trades following the run out that killed Spiff. The move into CC really well timed, but that kill from Burnt Turkey sliding things back in the HK Rebels' favor, equalizing the man count, allowing these last couple players to just sit here on site. Burnt Turkey gets droned out by Poa playing up against the reinforcement, daring Shuttle to peek him from CCTV. Forrest, the man with Case, is going to work to open this archives wall. Once this gets open, it is really, really difficult for the defense to try and fight. The long angle just works in the favor of the attack, and plus, if you let an attacker through, well, the plant behind the bomb chassis is relatively free.
Not only that, but they have no utility left on the defensive side to deny that plant. The only caveat is the fact that there is a soft wall on the right side that could be used to deny that aggression. Flash thrown forward as Forrest wants to aggress. Has the assistance on their left side from Shuttle, but here comes Burnt Turkey up the metal stairs. Now in a 1 versus 2, looking for the first, will be able to find it, absolutely sending them into the Shadow Realm, but without Iconic and without Shadows, they don't even need the assistance. It's Astralis to pick up the first round. Valiant effort in those final fights, but the kills just not going Burnt Turkey's way. It's Astralis to take the first.
And I wonder if there was some miscommunication there, because Forrest just killed Vipoa from Archives. So there's no way that Forrest could have gotten back to the 90 hall in time there. I think the correct call for Burnt Turkey would have been to look left at Metal. So the only thing that I can think of that would cause him to look the other way was either a lack of a call out from Vipoa or some sort of miscommunication between him and the rest of his team. It's a valiant attempt there in the 1 versus 2. I mean, you highlighted it. The shot he hit on the Shuttle was demonic. But at the end of the day, Astralis played their trades really, really well. They stormed into CCTV and got that control. And Forrest sprinting into Archives, getting his kill, was the round winner. Astralis find themselves up 1-0. The Rebels switching downstairs to bathroom. rocking the Vigil and the Valkyrie for the first time this series. Of course, the ladder operator being banned on Chalet, and so it's going to be tough for Astralis to try and fully clear this top floor.
Astralis' attack looked a little bit more cohesive in that round, and the fact that they found so many trades on a consistent basis, not allowing HK Rebels to get comfortable, really led to their favor. This is an odd setup now for the HK Rebels as they go bathroom tellers. Again, Doug is going on towards the Oryx. I like that camera placement, by the way. At least I'm totally stealing that for my ranked games, considering I played Porter twice last night, and lost it twice last night. That's not...
Wow.
Yeah, it's... I was like plus 14 in KD, but
what's your win-loss right now?
I played 3 games. I've won 2. No, I played 4 games. I've won 2.
Nice.
I can't play it on my dorm network, so I've just played it since I got home 2 days ago.
Oh, that sucks. I have a 2.3 or a 2.8 or something. I'm plat 4, baby. Let's go. On my way to Emerald. And Iconic now in the grave. Burnt Turkey playing with the TCSG, looking for another. Maverick sprints into jail, takes a bullet to the chest from the revolver, but is still alive. Spiff getting his own kill onto Rai, I believe, upstairs. And that's going to prompt Doug and Vipoa to start to get active. They know they've got to take ground back, rotate someone back to site to help out Millies. Actually, Millies isn't even on the site. They need to rotate back anybody on the site just to have an anchor. The call's going out. Astralis knows there's no one here. Forrest is just going to walk on into bathroom and attempt to plant. They probably have someone covering the hatch, or the hatch is closed. Vipoa is going to die to Iconic, and Forrest is able to complete this plant. Now in comes the Oryx. Finally, Doug will make his presence known, but he misses the shots on the player blue lobby. Now Astralis know he's there. I'm sure they know Millies is trying to come in through Workshop as well. These defenders have no time to play with. There's no time to dawdle. They got to get in and win these fights. Doug swings onto the player in main lobby, downs Iconic. So there's 1 out of 3, able to take out the second as well as Spiff dies, so Doug is trying to make it happen. Millies needs to get this site control. He'll take the 1v1, slam forward through the melee hole, but J9O's on for the trade, and with little time remaining, this round should be over. Millies is sticking the diffuser. J9O needs to rush on in, but Millies is gonna get it! The timing from J9O, waiting to switch weapons before peeking, costs him precious seconds, and HK Rebels tie it up.
What is J9O doing outside with that plant position? They did not have the top floor control, so Astralis had to plant where they did. That's completely understandable. The issue, they didn't have as many players there for crossfires. They took so many different 1v1 gunfights that it gave HK Rebels, albeit with just 11 seconds or 21 seconds to hop on the defuse, extra time that they probably should not have been given. 2 different players watching the exact same angle, you probably end that round, make it a 4 versus 1. But first fight doesn't go their way when they try and just give away that gunfight with Shadow, aka Iconic. The second one is absolutely sent on, and even with Burnt Turkey missing an entire clip of TCSG shots and only hitting 1 from the revolver, Astralis really throwing away whatever advantage they gained on the bottom floor. And HK Rebels, I'm not gonna lie to you, that was a terrible site setup, especially considering your whereabouts elsewhere on the map, but the retake, really well done.
Yeah, I'm very surprised they won that. I mean, I can't blame J9O for being outside. He wanted to play passive, was cutting off the long rotate from Workshop, and unfortunately for him, none of the defenders actually exposed themselves to until it was that 2v1. The positioning was fine, it was just the timing. Wanted to wait until he switched weapons to take the close engagement route. Really, he should have just jumped on in with the DMR up. Would have saved him precious time and would have probably won him the round, because Millies was not getting off it. He didn't have the time to get off. Now Astralis probably want that round back. They'll have to attack a different site for it. Now, Workshop and Vents. Typically the tertiary now that a lot of teams consider customs unplayable because you take CCTV and then, you know, bam, there's site. Meanwhile, Workshop, you have to clear all of Armory lockers, which are a much more defensible position than CCTV.
I'm a fan, personally, of Ventilation Workshop. My personal opinion, in any order you look at, it should go Bathroom Tellers, Arsenal Archives, Ventilation Workshop. again, customs inspection, not even a conversation because of the fact that if you take CCTV, the round basically ends. Doug very smartly prones after being droned out, but can't actually make it out of this position. A well-placed nade would take them out of contention, but unfortunately for them, Spiff is not in that general vicinity, and Doug makes it out again. Now looking to take the fight, does a decent bit of damage on Iconic, who dies to the EDDs as IQ. That's ironic.
That's pretty funny. Always funny to see someone die to Capcan Tribes, especially when it's on our screen. Vipoa and Forest, the next two players to get into a tussle. Both will be lit up to 1 HP. Rai's got the C4 potential downstairs, and it's perfectly timed, but he just pulls the trigger too late. Forest only needed a little bit of explosive damage to kill him, but he'll survive, and eventually Doug goes down. Finally, the C4 goes up. It kills Shuttle and downs Forest. So Burnt Turkey does a lot of work with that Nitro Cell. J90 and Shuttle probably going to be working to pick Forest up. Spiff just wants to make sure no one's baiting the res and going to be attacking him, but Rai downstairs using that pulse, able to kill Forest. Now it's a 2 versus 4.
This is so much information for the defensive side to play off of, but J90 does find the kill onto Millies. They're joined alongside Spiff in this 2 versus now 3. An odd position for the Hong Kong Rebels to be in, certainly. Rai still waiting around customs. Vipoa on a well-placed breeze away from death, but they haven't cleared out customs, of which Rai still currently occupies. This could be a flank that costs him, but Vipoa is the one to find the kill with a T5 no less. They know the flank is there, but Vipoa with a double. On just so low HP, it would have ended them. They don't even get shot at. And HK Rebels bring back 2 in a row, win both of those first floor sites that everybody else plays, and now take the lead up against Astralis.
J90 losing that fight on the pixel to Vipoa, really putting the round in the dirt for Astralis. They're clear. All things considered was okay. Sure, you lost Iconic to Capcan Traps, but you do a lot of damage to the Oryx. You get that trade. The C4 from Burnt Turkey really opened things up. Tag teaming with the Pulse to get that info, and then having the Pulse finish off the down. Beautifully done from HK Rebels. I think someone from Astralis needed to be pressuring that Pulse downstairs. Otherwise, like you mentioned, it's so much info for the defense, and it's all free. Free C4 potential in a room where all of the floors are destructible. So we go back to Armory Lockers, the only site that Astralis have successfully attacked, and it still came down to a 2v2.
Extremely close in a lot of these rounds. The previous 2 versus 3, the round before, a last-second defuse as time was expiring to actually stick it all the way through when time would have gone the other way. All of these rounds, 2 kills or 2 seconds total between them. You probably see this going either 3-0 one way or even 3-0 the other. It's a very odd position for a lot of these teams to be in when you have such close rounds, but you have a definitive lead that HK Rebels currently possess. I don't know if they can continue to hold this, though. And honestly, Astralis had a little bit of a better take originally on this top floor site. And HK Rebels need to have some semblance of control later on in the round to have really any shot at this site, because they gave away a lot early on last time.
I like the Dokkaebi Lion combo coming out from Astralis. Considering how much HK Rebels have been kind of running around, they want to put a firm stop to that. First things first, it appears they want to clear top east and CCTV, and they'll have to contend with Vipoa. Rocking that Aruni DMR, and a long crossfire that Millies is holding too. Rooney Gate starting to be burned thanks to the clone from Spiff. Not a lot of help for CCTV though, other than just Millies, and Astralis firmly now taking this top east control.
I'm going to take office fairly quick. Doug, I'm curious to see if they actually try and run out of this position. It would work. Force is looking the wrong way, but repelled is still something they'll have to worry about. And at least that control is something that's still possessed by the HK Rebels. If they don't clear Doug out of that position and gain that real estate sooner rather than later, Astralis are going to gain all this and use so much utility just to do very little with it. Doug's phone's ringing, courtesy of J90, who still loses the fight without seemingly much information. There is a response inside of the office itself, but now Millie's with a kill of their own. Trades back and forth, but it finally favors JD Hog, as Spiff will find the double, and HK Rebels down a man again.
Doug had a nice little rat play there, but Astralis with a really good CCTV take. I mean, had J90 not died there, it'd be a 4 versus 2. There's a C4 at the very least for the defense, so they have some opportunity for a free kill with that explosive, but with an open, half-open armory wall, it should be relatively easy to open this up to start getting a plant attempt down. Doug looking to maybe flank in a CCTV, but instead he'll join his teammate in sight, knowing that this C4 could be oh so important. Rotate into small, holding the 90-degree angle with the Vector, but now he's full blind, pressured out, runs into the corner with the locker. Kind of relying on Burnt Turkey to hold back the attack right now. Nade goes in, destroys, I think, the attacker's own drone, unfortunately, and doesn't touch Burnt Turkey. Doug finally makes his presence known, swings on out, gets 1 kill. Spiff now down thanks to the coverage from Burnt Turkey. The pistol out, and Doug gets it. Actually, Spiff was down by the fire. That Forest, I guess, shot.
I think they tried to nade out a decent bit of utility, and that's what blew up the Vulcan canister. And that's a decent bit of redundancy if the defensive tied to play around. If they can put that down sooner rather than later and get that area of effect damage and denial for an attacking side that really has to walk through it as time's ticking away, Astralis were forced to walk in. You had 2 options: walk in and die, or stay there and lose the round anyway. It's really just a matter of how you lost the round rather than if, because the kills just were not there. And the angles held by the HK Rebels just looked significantly better than that of rounds past. Have to say, commendations to Doug. The aggression working out in their favor, continually fragging out as they come back into this map. Nice little double and a half as they almost finished off the down player. Nonetheless, 5 and 3, triple kill on the round, really activating now in
Bomb located by attackers.
HK Rebels switching to bathroom, where Astralis should have probably won. I hope a revolutionary change for this defense, they actually have someone on site. Like, anyone, just like in bathroom or something. At least near site. Because last time, like, everyone was either upstairs or way off it. And then they started to get picked apart. HK Rebels had to fall all the way back because their like 1 anchor died, I think. Hopefully we see some sort of adjustment. Burnt Turkey still rocking that TCSG. Millie's on the Valkyrie too. Operator being played almost every single round now on border, and we've seen her actually used pretty well. It seems like every time Astralis go for a play, sure they might win out on the trades, but at the very least HK Rebels are knowledgeable of it.
And that knowledge is always power, information being such an important position in the game of Rainbow Six Siege. But Astralis hasn't been playing too much for their information. Again, the drone you were talking about in the previous round, naded out by their own team. That ended up blowing up the Vulcan canister, at least the second around it. Impact EMP now used should be able to pick up that electro. No. No, it does not.
Alright. They give up there. Ooh. Shuttle almost smoked that guy. Who is that? Millie's? Hiding behind half wall. Nice OSA shield placement as Astralis continue to clear out CCTV. They'll drone it. That kind of forces Vipoa back. He doesn't want to be cleared with full info on him, so he'll back off into Fountain, but it does make way for the attackers to work their way in and take a firm stand here in CCTV. This angle being covered here by Spiff, and Doug gets demolished. Great opening frag, only halfway in the round for Astralis.
A lot of map control as well off of that. CCTV now being taken. They can aggress across the map, but HK Rebels are controlling the map at a decent enough level, given the fact that, again, it's a bathroom teller's hold. Last time around, it was Astralis taking the bottom floor and just aggressing off the back of it. And there's HK Rebels activating and then backing away. They understand now is the time to disengage. They'll slow things down, turtle up just a little bit more on the defensive side, and force Astralis into more open positions that HK Rebels can play crossfires on. Vipoa in a similar position to that of their previous round. You remember this? They were on low HP. That time it was with the Oryx, this time the MX4 Storm wielding Alibi, but it's still advantage Astralis in terms of only man count. Real estate sure is in their favor, but they've yet to take this west side of the first, and they need to do so sooner rather than later, or HK Rebels are going to collapse upon them.
Only 34 seconds remaining. I love you saw earlier too, Jane. I know looking at the ground, making sure there was no Capcan traps on his doorway. Ace charge, well timed, is going to open a good sight line into the bomb site. Jane, I know, cuts down Rai as the Warden tries to rotate in. Burnt Turkey gets one kill, but Forrest has adequate cover. Shuttle a follow-up now behind his own Osa shield. He'll start getting this plant down, and Vipoa stuck in CCTV, cut down by Spiff. Astralis with a bounce back round.
That adjustment from Astralis as well. They decide instead of trying to aggress from the top floor directly down, or even the west side of the map over without clearing ventilation, they'll take what they already have and then play off of it. You talked about the Selma that was used on the corner of that teller's wall. They immediately push off of it, find a kill into Burnt Turkey. Yes, the trade was there, but trades favor the attacking side, especially when you already have that man advantage. Astralis took what they already had, played off of it rather than trying to take what was not theirs, and played nice with the other kids while also taking the round.
Workshop, next site. Really good pulse usage from the defense this time. And most of that pulse usage enabled by the early death of Iconic, who was on that IQ. But now there's no more IQ. And there's also no more pulse. And I kind of question that. Astralis had the advantage going into the mid-round after their initial CCTV clear. It was the pulse and the C4 usage, offset pulse, that made all the difference. So dropping the operator that I would say won the round for you, I think is a questionable decision for Rebels.
I think they're trying to counter Astralis' counter. Because of how many differences we've seen on a consistent basis from Astralis' attack, like, look at this time around. Shuttle's bringing Finka. This is the first time we've seen Finka today, by the way. Just a brief note on that one, and we've played almost a map and a half of Rainbow Six. The real question for HK Rebels is how do they flex off of an operator composition that worked out for them prior, that really turned the round in their favor without giving too much to Astralis, because you'd have to expect a few of those attacker repicks are around some sighted ops, but you also have to guess that Forrest picking up the Thatcher is mainly in response to either A, the Kaid, B, the Mute, or even C, that pulse that you're talking about that does not currently exist.
At the very least, like you said, it will be able to counter the Kaid and the Mute, which I'm sure what it's mainly being used for. Poa looking to aggress onto Catwalk, just looking for drones, making sure that no one knows he's there, but we'll send some shots the way of Iconic, as Iconic just runs on through top east. No info was there onto the Alibi, and Vipoa gets away with a freebie.
First kill for this HK Rebels defense, and the opener goes their way, and most importantly, I think, on towards Iconic. And yeah, the old conversation, you talked about it earlier. Oh, you lost your Ash. Ash doesn't have all that much utility. It doesn't really matter. That's not the case anymore. And now, a C4 kill courtesy of Rai from down below, dropping Forrest. A doubled up opener. Now for the HK Rebels, and Astralis have yet to find a response. Jane, I know, is going to jump in towards this CCTV side, but how did Doug just die? What?
How? What? Vipoa was sitting on the rotate. Okay. I don't know how that just happened, but
I think he was looking the wrong way.
Yeah, not having ears, not hearing the window jump in. Yeah, he got tricked by game audio. All right, well, we're equalized now. 3 versus 3, and this is a nice opportunity, but Burnt Turkey survives with 1 HP. And Millie's is a thing, but he just rotates under the floor hole. No! He ran out of ammo! Shuttle ran out of ammo! He had to try and gone 6 millies, but he already hit the stim. 2 opportunities for kills from Astralis slipped right between their fingers because Shuttle runs out of ammo. So we're still in a 3-on-3 here. And if HK Rebels win this, Shuttle is going to be kicking himself. 2 bodies in the site. Burt Turkey, a satellite player right now. They're covering the hatch drop. They know where this push has to come from. J9O, though, on his entry, gets one on Millie's. That's a sight opener they're looking for, but Burnt Turkey still holding close with the TCSG, and this gun hits like a truck. He's going to be able to kill J9O as the Hibana's not looking the right way. Spiff falls as well. Shuttle hitting the back, gets dug, sees the head of Burnt Turkey, and Burnt Turkey only has the revolver. Shuttle makes amends from his earlier mistake and gives Astralis the round win.
I have to feel so bad for Shuttle as well, because it probably could have been a 3 or 4K for the Finca, but it's Astralis now as they switch onto the defensive side with back-to-back rounds to close out the first half, and even with the unfortunate finish to those 2 fights with, well, you saw it, Burnt Turkey on a sliver of health, and Millie's getting that stim off, putting them in an invulnerable state for 2 seconds of time as they pick themselves right back up, surviving because of it, and almost winning the round off the back. It came down to the 1v2. Fortunately, Shuttle decided he wanted to go to the far side of the map and just come from behind, as the drop down the metal stairs and the flank from the backside works in their favor, albeit in a surprising fashion. Astralis still win the round.
Now moving into the new half, we're all tied up 3 apiece. HK Rebels looking to stick 4 entry operators and a hard breach. So very different from what we saw from the Astralis attack, where they had Dokkaebi, Lion, they had double hard breach in some cases. They were rocking IQ, but HK Rebels just all in on the entry. Switch to IQ. I would still consider IQ an entry, and that's mainly to counteract this pulse that Iconic is playing. Astralis are going to have plenty of info, and they also have 5 C4s. So Doug is going to have his work cut out for him.
I think Doug's going to have the P12 out with a little IQ scanner more than he's going to have 552 out.
He has got to kill this pulse. It's a necessity.
Oh, and they have to deal with the mute as well. How do they deal with the mute at this point? They don't have any secondary EMPs. A nade through the drone hole maybe, but now Millie's is taken care of. There's the nade, but a follow-up in terms of an Electroclaw. And just like that, well, they've already lost Millie, so I don't think it's really going to play all that much against them. Oh. And the mute jammer's still on the ground. Oh, this is a terrible start for the HK Rebels.
He didn't even destroy the ace either. Like it's on the other side of the wall, and it's gonna remain unused until that jammer gets cleared. And Burnt Turkey walks into the Capcan traps. There we go. Forrest already finding use there. I'll see that the vertical destruction is starting. That's gonna prompt Iconic to start rocking the pulse. 1 C4 goes up. It's pre-placed. Maybe waiting for a sound cue from one of his teammates. I don't even know where that C4 is. Is it there? There it is. So, it won't find anyone, but luckily for him, he's got 4 more teammates, all with nitro cells. And Armory Lockers is like prime hunting grounds right now for this pulse. J9O, the next to send a C4 up, also pre-placed, and we'll wait on the call from Iconic to let it blow.
This is the easiest of calls, by the way, with Iconic continually having the cardiac sensor out and not having to spend the time putting it away. I don't know if they've cleared out Shuttle, though.
I don't think they saw him.
Of ventilation. Rai may very well just jump in here. Reloads. This could be a chaotic position. We've seen this held prior. This time it's with the SMG-11, though. And he's just waiting. Shuttle does not want to over-aggress.
There's another drone coming in from the ace. Forrest a second kill onto Vipoa. Rai's drone is not in vents. Forrest a triple kill, running amok, and no! Shuttle never spotted. Doug has to drop the sight and do something. J9O finishes him off from inside of supply, and Astralis take the round in stride. They gave up that early control, but Forrest working the picks upstairs. Triple kill for him, and of course, Shuttle tucked in the corner. Misdroned. Really put the round in Astralis' pocket.
I don't think it was round changing, the fact that they did not fully clear out Shuttle, but it certainly didn't help by any means. even if you see Rai get on site and even try and plant that defuse, A, there's a sound cue, and B, there were so many different direct off-site positions held by the Astralis, there was not much that could have been done, even if they get into the site, but, you know, they didn't clear out shuttle in the close corner. So it didn't really matter,
Attackers need
and
to
Astralis
locate
win
and
the first
defuse
round
bombs.
of half. Now, across to bathroom tellers, my personal preference. Oryx on the board, now for Iconic, and how do you flex this if you're Astralis? They decide, rather than reinforcing that teller's wall we saw earlier, they're going to bring the castle and make it a rotate. I used to love this strategy. I'd try and make my teammates in ranked use this, and if it was ever actually put forward, it would win every time. However, you know, HK Rebels a little bit more put together than Black teams. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it really allows you to control lobby.
Uh-huh.
And if the attackers don't destroy the castle, I mean, it funnels them into one tiny crouch rotate.
Objective is to locate a bomb.
We'll see how HK Rebels adapt as Astralis are all in on the top floor hold right now. All hands on deck. You'll have 4 roamers upstairs, it looks like, with Shuttle downstairs, working the pulse, working that cardiac sensor. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that pulse the majority of these defenses, if not all. HK Rebels are getting active quick. They'll open up that window for the Iana clone to continue clearing through. They see that detention and supply is clear. Start to open up in Passport as well. Spot the vertical angle held by Spiff on the Thunderbird, who's busy watching the Passport door. Burnt Turkey and Vipoa are making a stand, looking to get some nades up possibly into CCTV.
You see drones are being put forward just to try and gain any information for HK Rebels on this bottom floor, but it's an odd position for them to try to attack. You can see Spiff trying to get aggressive with a spear. Sound cue's heard, so we may see Spiff jump out here. It's not completely out of the ordinary, but here's the run out. Shadow, it's Iconic doing the exact same thing. Doug finds just one refrag though, but from below, Spiff finds a double. Vipoa misses the opportunity, and the high ground for Obi-Wan Kenobi again costs Anakin, as he was the chosen one, and he's now been sent to the Shadow Realm.
Burnt Turkey and Rai, the FBI operators, left in a 2 versus 4. Burnt Turkey hits his second EDD in as many rounds. And, well, what do? You got to try and work pick somehow. Rai may have had an opportunity in office, but he'll jump down. Burnt Turkey looking to just walk into the site, but this is smart from Astralis. With all that off-site play and with the pulse alone on site, they leave the window open. They leave the window glass up. So if they jump in, they'll be able to hear it, but Rai getting this plant down. Now all the defenders need to come back. Forrest slams Rai off the plant. Nice shot from Burnt Turkey to put us into 1 versus 3, but J90 does not let him get away with it. Astralis with a wonderful retake, a 4 versus 2. Tough for HK Rebels to fight out of in the first place, and Astralis go up 5-3.
Defenders win.
Setup there for Astralis led them to simple process of elimination. How do they walk in? And the answer for HK Rebels was crouching in, as a matter of fact. Yeah, they played towards that main square double door. Sure, you walked into the site and got that plant, but you didn't do all that much around it. And the issue that they continue to run into on that HK Rebels side is, can they take control gained and turn it into control held? And that time around, it was just not the case. Astralis's defense on that offsite pressure, as you mentioned, just collapsed. As soon as the sound cue was there, they completely demolished HK Rebels. Granted, it was a 4 versus 2, so they were already playing with a disadvantage, but Astralis made sure that disadvantage was continuously held, and the round inevitably went their way.
And the castle barricade did work too, right? But, like you said, process of elimination. They know that the castle, there's a castle on one window, glass up on the other, and the castle on the double door. Shuttle could hear none of those went down. There was just the crouch walk and then the sound cue of the plant, meaning there was only one place Rai could possibly be, and that aids the ease of that retake. And really, there's only one place that Burnt Turkey can be covering him from as well, which is in that double door. So Astralis, once again, that castle barricade funneling the attackers into pretty much preset positions. The Rebels taking a timeout. They better hope they take this next round. They were unsuccessful in their post-timeout round last map, and if they lose it here, they'll be facing down the barrel of match point.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
not only will they be facing match point, but they'll be facing match point 3 consecutive times, and they'll have to take Astralis out 3 consecutive times, which already in and of itself is a challenging fact, but it's Astralis playing on the defensive side of border, which on a statistical basis has favored them in comparison to the HK Rebels, and they've already taken 2 of 2 rounds played, and should that position be one put forward, it would have been 3 of 3, and still a 100% win percentage, required to be turned to 50 if HK Rebels even want to try and force a third map and send it to T, much less actually send us to that third. Odd position still for HK, but Astralis comfortable and playing around what's working for them, not changing all that much. We'll see Spiff pick up the dock. Not too out of the question, but still something that...
What makes this round even tougher for HKR, too, is that this site has not been played yet. This is their first look at Armory, and it's on, you know, the point before match point. So the pressure is really on them to read into this defense and adapt accordingly. I don't know what that nade was supposed to do from Vipoa. Maybe he tried to thread the needle through the head holes, but it just falls on the floor. Yeah, he's trying to get this kill on the Melusi, but he whiffed the first nade. We'll see if he can land the second. He'll try and use it vertically now, but the player has already moved. He's got no info because he was droning for himself, and no one on his team, I guess, was watching the cam. So no kill with the nades. I like this Azami play from Iconic, too. Getting aggressive, challenging the doorway, and cutting off an angle for the attack. But he tries to shoot the ace. Burnt Turkey walks his way in, kills him and Forrest. And HK Rebels start with a 5v3 lead.
Really big start for them, not only finding the down, but the kills as well. They also clear out the close-range shuttle, of whom now taken out of contention. It's down to just Spiff and J90. Spiff does find a first, so the cross from long range is indeed there. J90 looking for a follow-up, finds that as well, but Rai is going to get this plant down and force this 1v3 4K from Spiff, already occupying the archives, will have to cross in towards the opposing site, but he's being pressured from 2 completely different sides of this desk. One on the close side of archives, the other on the far side of Armory itself. The bailiff to cross, He does the damage, but can't find the kill. The 5-shot pistol shotgun will end up being his undoing, and the HK Rebels will pick up their first of the second half.
I saw the vision. I saw him whip out the bailiff, and I'm like, oh, he is just sprinting at him. And unfortunately, it failed him. I just didn't do enough damage to Doug. Either way, Astralis' CC hold failing tremendously. Iconic trying to get the trying to get the Selmas off the wall. Didn't know Burnt Turkey was already on the balcony, pushing him. Forrest, I think, maybe going for an impact or going for the refrag. Either way, he dies next, and Shuttle was caught mid-weapon swap. Unfortunate situation for Shuttle there, but I mean, that CC cleared, spiraled into the round win. After that, HK Rebels just had it in the bag. So my worries ended up being unfounded. HK Rebels adapted to that CC hold very well, taking the round in stride. But now we go back to sites that we know Astralis are good at. Workshop, where Forrest had previously gotten a 3K upstairs.
So what's the over-under on Forrest kills in round 10? I put it at 2.5.
I was gonna say at least 2. I'm gonna say
so you have. Does that mean you have the under or the over? What do you think?
I have the over. I'm gonna say over.
3 or more kills from Forrest. Bro's gonna be.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Or I'm gonna lose my house.
I mean, my Twitch recap just came out. I was doing pretty good. I have 16.5 million channel points total.
What the hell?
I'm very good at betting on esports stuff. Those channel points. I think I have like 5 mil on the Rainbow Six channel alone or something like that. LCS is like 2. Worlds is like 2 more. I'm really good at just guessing. I should be put on an analyst desk.
I don't think I've ever done a Twitch poll ever.
I do them all the time. I'm just so.
I've never touched it. I always see Twitch poll. Who do you think is doing it? I just close it.
SCS predictions I'm a little worse.
I also closed the Twitch recap thing. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I remembered like half an hour ago I clicked the X on that, so. All good. And Vipoa just hit a Capcan
Not
trap.
again.
This is awesome. I love this. I love Capcan so much. He's so funny. I was talking to comp players. I'm like, dude, like I know it sucks ass to play against, but goddamn, I love Capcan.
My favorite thing is just look at the doorway forehead, but at the same time, it's so easy to say for us when they're trying to take like 3 different gunfights as they enter in through a single doorway.
Forrest just
Somehow
lost that.
Millies wins that fight.
Roman
Forrest ends up getting far away on the under in terms of kills found in the round. An attempted refrag here from Shuttle, looking for 2, finds a first, wants to play on the other side of this center sandwich lockers, but will lose. Second time, Millie's onto a double, and J90 will have to back away, but is being pincered from behind.
He's at least got the hatch drop open. He spots the head of, I think that was Vipoa for a second. The close, no, there's Vipoa coming in from the back, and he quickly dies. I think it was Rai whose head he actually saw. Iconic assists him downstairs. Kill on a Doug, killing the Thatcher, and bring the man count back in Astralis' favor. So, although Roman may have lost me my house, Astralis still look poised to win the round, especially with Rai and Millies both on really low HP and no vertical play to be found, meaning that Astralis can sit here patiently and just watch the hatches. That bit of vertical play will force Iconic off his angle, and then he decides to just expose himself. Even though Millies is stuck in a Banshee, Spiff still doesn't turn around and ends up losing the fight. I don't know what's happening with the position from Astralis right now. J90's now stuck in a 1 versus 2 with Millies covering close doorway. J90 now gets extremely lit up, wins the first fight, looking for the second. Sees the pixel and downs Millies. J90 picking Astralis up off the ground. A triple kill for the alibi, and Astralis now on match point.
Defenders have disabled the
I cannot believe that J90 wins that. I don't know how in the world Millies doesn't die in 2 different fights to open things up, by the way. Siege sound to its greatest extent, as the Banshee may be screaming, but to nobody's ears, because it doesn't travel that far, apparently. Little unfortunate, but Astralis still win the round and now send themselves onto match and series point. That was the 2 different fights, by the way, that Millies won. First one, and there's the second. I suppose 3 technically, because 2 of them were in that long hallway. Anywho, round victory.
And they go down to bathroom. I think, worst looking attack that we've seen from HK Rebels was on this site. I mean, it was what, like a 2 versus 4, and half of Astralis was still upstairs? Not a great clear. Capcan rearing his ugly head once again. I like Iconic switch onto the Frost too. So no pulse though, which I'm a little disappointed by. No castle either, even though it worked so well. But Astralis still looking to roam up on that top floor for as long as possible. Worked really, really well in the last round. Interested to see how HK Rebels decide to adapt here.
The adaptation for HK Rebels you'd expect would have been towards that castle-based setup in the previous round, but because Astralis have such an in-depth playbook, they decide instead to just bring something almost completely different. And I honestly love it. The Frost is a nice breath of fresh air, because if you think Capcan traps finding efficacy are hilarious, you should wait till the Canadian comes to play, because ankles be damned, those are mine. Again, kinda like an NBA game. Anywho, Astralis still looking to play around trap ops, and it's been working fairly well for them. The Capcan has been peppering in 55, 60 damage depending on the operator on the other side, and it's been a little deadly, especially because HK Rebels just don't clear that, but, you know, there's Forrest taking a Capcan trap damage worth of damage, and almost actually dying to the exact same angle.
Yeah, Millie's outside on that repel doing a lot of damage to our resident Capcan player, who, curiously enough, is not rocking the 1.5. The Buck will work his way in, looking to challenge Spiff, who's currently getting droned, but Forrest, I think through the wall, getting 1, and Vipoa not even pulling the trigger against the Aruni. Astralis, on match point, start with 2 kills.
Playing from behind already if you're the HK Rebels, and they don't have all that much map control to trade out for the 2 kills they've already lost. Doug is just chilling inside of server, so at least can push forward and hold the real estate they currently possess. Forest up above will disallow any exit courtesy of that Twitch, but 2 players playing together. Doug doesn't see him!
Uh-oh.
How the heck is Forest not seen waiting on the closet desk?
Sequential breach activated.
Well,
What? And now Forest
he's
drops!
gonna drop.
And he
All right,
dies.
well, at least he finally dies to Doug, so no harm, no foul, I guess. Astralis, though, still control the top floor, and this is a beautiful angle from J9O to kill Rai. 4 versus 2 now. They've got a nice angle to refrag, though, as Burnt Turkey lands that kill. Spiff staring at the floor as Doug starts to ascend the staircase. Burnt Turkey looking to take the 1v1 on fight. Spiff does die to it. Burnt Turkey, I think, just challenged him on the vert and won it. Now it's a 2 versus 2. Things much more doable for HK Rebels, but do they know where Iconic is? Chilling in the bathroom stall, just waiting for HK Rebels to walk through this wall. Not only does he have this angle, but he's also got Shuttle upstairs working the vert. This is going to be really dangerous for the attack if they start to move on through. Shuttle makes his presence known and will die, but they both line up. A lot of damage done to Burnt Turkey as his teammate falls, and he's got to try and come with some sort of avenue of egress. He drops the hatch, gets away from Iconic, and he has the case. Starts sticking this plant. Iconic is right next to him, but he doesn't know where the plant is going down. He evades the shots, catches Turkey sprinting, and Astralis with a weird round 11 victory, but a victory nonetheless, and they succeed in keeping themselves alive, eliminating the HK Rebels.
They are team number 5 actually eliminated out of SCS Season 7, with 3 more to come at the end of our final Swiss stage round. Unfortunate exit for HK Rebels. I think both of the rounds they just lost were odd to say the very least. An even more different and chaotic round loss in 3 rounds prior when they defended that ventilation workshop site. But their defensive side just was not up to snuff. Astralis looked so much better on their attack, especially going back to Chalet, and they carried that at least enough into that second map play to make it 3-3, and the defense just took over after.
Yeah, the defensive half from Astralis on border was really, really well put together, even though, like you said, a couple of those rounds were really weird. Astralis still put together the wins off of their superior gunplay and experience. Positioning was a bit odd, especially in this round. And the previous defense we saw that... the previous attack, the only attack that HKR were able to win. But at the end of the day, Astralis come away with the win as we all expected, considering the... the predictions. This round was also really weird.
Yeah. There were a lot of those. And the weird rounds for Astralis seemingly just played to their favor. This finish from Iconic, by the way, just very well set up on the bait established prior. You were looking at Shuttle playing inside of the bathroom, expecting Shuttle to find it. But the drone from the Twitch, at least they crossed their T's and dotted their I's on the Hong Kong side. Unfortunately, they just didn't turn it into a round victory because they only crossed their T's and dotted their I's. They didn't, connect the H bar and clear the top floor. That avenue for them just was not put forward. And the issue for HK Rebels was continually having one piece missing. Unfortunately, most of the time, at least in a chess game, that was the queen.
Yeah, and we don't even need bank. Again, I gotta throw it back to the ban phase. Chalet Border Bank. What was going through Hong Kong Rebels' heads? I even saw their coach. I think it's their coach, Davos, who was also calling timeouts in the team channel, so that's why I assume it to be. Davos, once they started winning, once they won the 3 rounds in a row on their defense, Davos started chirping in Twitch chat don't take HKR to border. Well, you want to take a look? Take a look over there. Maybe you don't bring Astralis to a map that they beat Xset on and took 5 rounds off of RTV on. It literally took Tristan almost dropping 20 to win against Astralis on this map. 12-7 from J9O. 10-9 from Spiff. Spiff has been doing fantastic for this roster ever since he got fully acclimated. I mean, everyone was doing their part, right? The worst they had was +0 from Forest and Shuttle. Like, any team would take that any day. Meanwhile, Burnt Turkey's 12-9. That's great. Doug, that's 9-9. Fine. Millie's 8-9. Whatever. Rai 3-9, Vipoa 6-10. Vipoa dying almost every single round on operators like Iana and Sledge. Can't be having that.
And it needs to be worked on later on for HK Rebels if they play in any other T3 leagues, if they try and move up to T2, whether individually or as a squad. They just do not have that continuity around the squad in terms of operator depth, because look at the most played operators. This is statistics based. This isn't just opinion based, courtesy of our production team. They have 3 different players, or 4, I suppose, playing 3 separate initiation attacking operators, where they just try and walk in and try an entry frag. I'm no expert, but that's just not good enough depth. Iconic and Shuttle share Ash, sure, that's a conversation, but Hibana was on their board. They were able to flex elsewhere as well. It just did not look diverse enough from the HK Rebels, especially on their attacking side, which insurmountably looked not atrocious, but certainly not up to snuff. They went 1-3 in that first half. They went 3-2, or 2-3, I suppose, because they lost more than they won back on Chalet. Needs to be worked on, especially with the prowess there from Astralis.
Yeah, but I know you mentioned him earlier. We have the interview ready with the one and only call-out resident head coach for Astralis. Call-out, long time no see.
Yeah, how are you doing? Haven't seen
I'm
you
doing
in a
pretty
while.
good.
Unless it's like CL, I guess. That's the only time.
Yeah, something like that. Something like an oh my god, how long ago were you in CL? A year and a half?
Yeah, it's been like I think like
that.
a year now or something. Yeah.
Wow, well, glad to see you doing big things on Astralis, but here you guys stay alive. You go to our 2-2 decider game. So you were up against HK Rebels. You know, they're probably, you know, no diss to them, but they're probably the weakest team that you guys have played so far. Looking back in your games, your losses against Reality TV and Parabellum, what were the biggest things that you felt that the team needed to fix?
You know, right now we're kind of just implementing, you know, our system with Spiff. So we're not really, I mean, we're still playing to win every game right now. I'm not going to say we aren't, because I'd just be lying if it wasn't, but, you know, we're more so focused on getting him in the system than kind of, you know, prepping to, you know, like forcing our place out to beat some of these teams.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, most of, I mean, yeah, like I think we talked to like Fox and the PB guys. You know, most of SCS is good for you guys, the T1 teams, to just kind of like experiment, get new players activated to the roster, stuff like that. And speaking of new players, right? You talked about Spiff. What did you guys like in Spiff to not only bring him in over DP, but also go straight from the amateur scene to T1?
You know, I think it's like a 1-for-1 comparison with DP and, you know, Spiff. I think it's more so that Spiff's role allowed us to be a little more flexible in our attack. You know, we're able to just put him on the entry and kind of just go. And we weren't able to really do that with DP on the role he was on, with, you know, him being a more of a supportive role.
That definitely makes sense. And looking at the maps too, Chalet, Border, and Bank. I know you said you guys, you know, aren't completely focused on, you know, counter-stratting all these teams or whatever, but, you know, going to a map like Chalet that you guys, I think, haven't played since
it's
the last major. I mean, why end up picking that map? Was it just to try and, you know, get Spiff acclimated to a map that you guys don't normally play, just so he has a complete map pool?
No, I mean, you know, we've been playing Chalet a bit lately, and, you know, we saw they didn't ban it. Like, I think they thought we were going to ban it, so we're just like, hey, like, you're going to leave it up, you know, we're just going to check you on it. So just a little bit razzed up, saw that coming up, you know, just wanted to get after it on that map.
Yeah, and with Chalet too, what was the thoughts going in with the Lion ban? Because he's not someone we see banned all too often anymore now that Coastline's been removed.
I'll keep it frank, you know, me and Mango last night didn't really know what ban we wanted to do, and we're just kind of like, you know, we looked at it and we're like, hey, I think these guys are going to play Lion, we'll just ban that shit. We don't really play it, so just banned it out.
That makes sense, considering HKR have been picking it up in their previous maps, and now that I finally get to talk to you, Call Out, and you've been someone who, in both CL and T1, you know, has been praised for being a pioneer of metas when the new updates first come out. What are your thoughts on Solus?
She's a little too good right now, keeping it frank. I don't know if they're going to keep her the way she like is, but, you know, right now she's really good. I mean, you can pretty much just run the prep phase of that operator, you know, even in the middle of the round, like, the way we like, you know, add on Chalet, where you have guys like playing basement with it, you pretty much see like across the map what they're doing the entire time. It's a little bit too good. They need to like decrease the range or like decrease the time you can be on the scanner, I think. Right now she's really good though. I mean,
do you think she's stronger than Pulse, or do you think they still have their? Okay, so she's just like better Pulse.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are like certain sites like you know Bank Basement probably Pulse is still better, but overall I think Souls is just overall she's just better than Pulse.
I gotcha. Interesting. So, Call, thank you very much for the interview. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm glad we had this chance again. I'm glad to see you guys still staying alive in SCS2, and we will see you in that decider game.
Alrighty, I'll see you.
Have a good night. And that's that. That's game number 1, Dan.
Yeah, they move on to the 2-2 bracket. I'm a little surprised to see what our bracket currently looks like. Now, I was taking a look while you two were having your very enjoyable conversation, also talking about this statistical lineup. I'll bring up bracket second. But J90, 24 and 12, 2.0 KD for all of you non-mathematicians. Really good showing from him, and I like the flexibility of Spiff. Map 1 wasn't the greatest. Moving into Border looked significantly better there for him. 18 and 16 overall, 4 and 1 on entry. From a statistical standpoint, those two and Doug were my standouts.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was with J90, of course, being a standout, going 24 and 12. The rest of Astralis were certainly not slouching either. At worst, they have Iconic and Force going -1. And like I said earlier, like I said with the stat sheet for Border, if your worst KD player is at a -1, any team is going to take that any day of the week. Meanwhile, in HK Rebels, you highlighted Doug going +7. I mean, he's been the highlight for HKR so far. Burnt Turkey was having a much better map 2 after going 4 and 8 map 1. Meaning he went, what, 12 and 11 map 2?
Yeah.
The rest of the roster lagging behind, especially Rai, 5 and 17 on the hard support. Millie's, I have to say, lacking on the entry, 1 and 4. J9 was 0 and 3, which is not great, but he's also not an entry player. A lot of those entries he was dying was like when the round on Border where Doug was just sitting next to a window. A lot of times it's not because J90 was entrying unsuccessfully, he was just getting caught. Like he was just getting kind of caught unaware. And he also had a 2.0 KD. So I think he can get away with going 0 and 3 on entry today.
Especially when you can flex that into a longer KD, and especially without the entry picks, they turn that into later round prowess when, you know, of course, you're still alive. J90 at that point, play around what works. And for them, they worked around their own utility and, most importantly, operator compositions. I'm going to stick with it. I brought it up a little bit earlier. The operator compositions from Astralis, especially on Border, maybe not a little bit towards Chalet, but Border to a big note, were just better for their attacking side. It allowed them to pick up more rounds because you brought it up in one of the rounds. They had 4 entry operators and a hard push on Border. Really? Against Astralis?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And it, and my memory serves, it didn't work. So that's it for map number 1. Astralis stay alive. We say goodbye to the Hong Kong Rebels in SCS7, but fear not, we still have another game to go and more tomorrow, but more on that later. I believe it's going to be Fellow and Klim's cast in the next one. Parabellum versus Vipers. We'll see who gets promoted to playoffs, joining OXG and S2 just after this break.